Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Cale, second by Dara. All in favor? Approved. Okay, we need a caller. Justine?
That is her cell phone. Let me real quick go pull up the email that has her office phone.
You calling us?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Hey, are you guys ready for me?
Give us just 2 seconds. Lila's coming right back in.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, Lila's here. We're good.
Okay, are you guys in a public meeting?
We are?
Yes.
Okay, so we have to do this public hearing tonight to close out our CDBG project for the City of St. Francis, grant number 20-PS-014. The purpose of this is to let all your citizens know that we completed your project in its entirety, and to see if anyone has any questions or concerns of the project. So we did complete the project, and we received $582,003.67 from Kansas Department of Commerce. That was all in the form of grant funding. We do have a remaining administration invoice that we will request funding for tonight. We did have a state monitoring with Linda Hunziger. She came out, reviewed all of our project files, and then went out into New Street project, and she approved us completing your closeout for tonight. The contractor did everything great, and your engineer completed all of his work, so everything is up to date. Does the council have any questions concerning your project?
Does anybody have any questions?
Nope.
Nope. If not, is there any public there tonight that has any questions concerning your project?
I'm good.
Okay, then you could go ahead and make a motion to come out of the public hearing.
Okay, do I hear a motion to come out of the public hearing? So, moved by David, second by Larry, all in favor? Okay.
Okay, so then I just need one motion to approve the closeout documents for project number 20-PS-014 to close out our CDBG project. This includes the final drawdown request in the amount of $2,000 for administration, which is from the grant side. If this is approved, then you should receive grant funding in like 10 to 14 days, and we will be done with our grant project, phase 1.
I'll make a motion to approve the closeout documents for grant agreement 20-PF-014.
Okay, been moved by Amanda, second by Cale. We need to vote on that, probably.
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Cale?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Sarah? Larry?
Yes.
Okay, it's passed.
Okay, do you guys have any more questions for me?
I don't believe
I
so.
don't think so.
Appreciate your help.
Thank you so much for calling me. I appreciate being able to do it via the phone versus driving all that way.
Yes.
No, that's great.
Thank you for all you did.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely. And we'll see you soon with phase 2.
Sounds good. Have a good evening.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have
Yep.
a good evening.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All of the documents that the mayor is signing are out on the share if anybody wants to look at all of them.
Okay, well, let's move on. And has everybody had a chance to read the minutes of the June 27th special meeting?
Move to approve the version.
Okay, been moved by Amanda. Second by David. All in favor? Approved. Okay, now we need to read the minutes of the last meeting.
I visited with Lila briefly when I came in on the Hunter Brogan property on South River. There was a discrepancy with the address of what he initially put on there and what the address was, so I think we decided to use 811 South River as opposed to 801. Correct, Lila?
Or we can put 801-811, which covers all the properties that are there.
Yes, okay, so to modify that to put 801-811, and then there's just a minor typo on the second page, I believe. But other than that, I would move to approve with those corrections.
Okay, been moved by Amanda. Second by Larry. All in favor? Approved. Okay, now we need a motion to approve the June 28th budget workshop. Moved by Larry. Second by Cale. All in favor? Approved. Consent agenda. We need permission for clerk to pay insurance at time of billing, to pay utilities at time of billing, to pay utility incentive before the 25th of the month, to pay theater bills when due, and to pay payment service network bills when due. Been moved by Dara.
Second.
Second by Amanda. All in favor? Approved. New business. Travis, you're up.
Oh, good. Hey, guys. First, I want to appreciate everybody, or thank everybody for all the support with Dad and everything. You know how special he was in this place. So appreciate it. I'm interested in purchasing some of the land north of Park Hill, or Pizza Hut, excuse me. And it's, thank Amanda for printing those out. I know it's kind of a dime on the dollar type of property, but I'm looking to move this carport next door to us out of my way so I can get to going on it. And I'm kind of losing some garage space with Dad's place up there, so still got his pickup and his Suburban, which is Avery's new vehicle, so I don't have a garage space for it. So I'm looking to put that carport over on that property to the west of Mike Fruin's and Cindy Ham's already. Long-term project, I'd love to put some storage units up along the long stretch of there, if that's feasible. And I didn't know if my carport would necessarily be enough construction to cover that construction that's needed within the 12-month span of purchasing this property. If their walls need to be put on a carport, I could do that, but didn't know what the stipulations were on the property, I suppose, and cost.
Did everybody remember how we did that on the property? What did we come up with that Hams paid for that?
$256
Yeah,
or
it's
$70.
yeah, it's,
Is what me and Amanda looked up at
Yeah.
the courthouse, I think it was.
and so the property, but we did have stipulation that there should be some type of structure within a year of going up on it. And you cannot resell it to make money off of it.
Oh, okay.
So if you'd ever decide that you didn't want it, for some reason, you have to come back to us first.
Man, that's the heck of a price to have to sell it for, too, ain't it? It's
Yeah.
understandable by all means. The storage units are just long-term. I don't know if I can, one carport will take care of that designated area pretty well. The blocked out area where I want to purchase, which is equal size to Cindy and Mike's, but all that to the north, all the way past that path. And I didn't know if that would all, carport construction would cover that whole plot of land. If not, I understand, and I could potentially purchase at a later time when don't have so many irons in the fire.
So you want all of that, what's left of Lot 3?
Potentially, yeah, like that whole section north. Now, the one north of Mike and Cindy's is all drainage ditch. Now, I mean, I might as well take it on for control of it if need be, come down the line and make sure no water's redirected or anything for the storage units. But it's just something the brothers and me were kicking around. Now, it's obviously the most profitable place to put it, according to the price of land. But right now, materials are what they are, so it would definitely be a future project. And if not, my gosh, I'll sell it back to the city. And I'm assuming everything needs to be mowed down and taken care of. Is that kind of one of the stipulations up there in that neck of the woods? Can't get chest high or knee high?
Ankle high.
Ankle high.
Once it gets ankle high, you'd be getting the mower.
Right. So that's also a deciding factor, how much money I want to burn on gas to mow this thing until we don't do something with it, or we do something with it, excuse me. But
Do we specify anywhere what construction needs to be done, or can we specify?
Well, we had on that within 12 months that some type of building needed to be rolled up.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't say-
Permanent structure, or is it?
it's a pretty long stretch for just one little building. I mean, I would be glad to purchase just the 80 by roughly 100-foot section for now, as long as I can get the rest of it north of me down the line. Maybe someone else decides they're interested in it, I might get first bid or something like that. But I don't know if that thing's work that way or not. But we sure would be interested, and I don't know where else we'd necessarily put it. At least according to the city property that's available. So definitely, as of now, interested in buying that 80 by 100 and putting
100, well,
112.
113.
Yeah.
The issue being that Mike and Cindy's building is built right on the property line from this aerial. And if you look, I went out there.
I definitely ain't trying to raise any red flags on anybody else's projects area.
But they've developed, they've obviously built onto city property.
Yeah.
the gravel and stuff goes
Yeah.
back.
Well, they raise it, 4-foot elevation out there now. I don't think I'm going to be doing that for my carport. But, down the line, if we do, obviously storage units, we're going to just do concrete and terracing. I assume it's going to be the smartest compared to raising it up on the elevation out there. That spread does kind of come out about 15 feet onto what would be my property. I suppose that's just something I'll have to deal with. It's not like you can ask them to put up a retainer wall or anything like that. I don't know what else you could do.
If we sold you the property, you'd have the right to do what you want to.
Nah, but I don't play those cards.
But I'm
Yeah.
saying, technically it would
Right.
be your property, and so I don't know.
I don't see it affecting any water runoff necessarily to mine. The gables are going to the north and south. They're not coming east and west, cutting down on the mine. I'm not too awful concerned myself. I'm not going to be butting up next to it. Down the line, if I decide to, I'd build up to that level and have a nicer structure. And of course, I would not like a nicer structure down the line than this carport. So, obviously onward and upward on the structures out there.
What's everybody think?
Doesn't need to have a slab, at least, or can you just do it?
Well, the one garage that got put in there didn't have a slab under it.
This one?
No,
Oh, the old one?
course, that's where it was, right there.
Mm-hmm.
He had never, he just moved that garage in there and set it down and then leaned it.
Yeah, right, I mean, more than,
Yeah.
if you put a pad, you're gonna be putting footings down on the floodplain like that, there's no other options. But definitely could do something like that down the line, was not looking at that much expense up front, but I mean, if that's what I gotta do to get that property, but we'll get some cement laid. I gotta pour some cement over here, we'll see if Brock can give me a deal, but, yeah, right. I don't think deals come cement.
No, not with concrete.
You get a smile.
Yeah.
But no, if that's what I need to do, so be it. I would like it a little higher. I was hoping to maybe do a little retainer wall down the line and get a little bit more height out of it. Maybe pour, foundation and then crushed rock in there, something ain't gonna wash out with the retainer wall, but obviously that's all down the line. But I got a carport.
Yeah. When do you think you would do that other improvements to the carport eventually?
When you need them. I could do them within 12 months, I bet.
I was going to say, if it was done within 12 months,
It'd still be within whatever
it'd be
stipulations.
within it, so if you could either pour a slab or a foundation to mount it down good,
Sure.
it'd be to your advantage to eventually close it up too, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Because,
Absolutely.
even just what you're going to park out there. I
Well,
think-
right, no, I mean, 100% would be to my advantage. It'd be nice to have it high enough to get a camper in there if need be, but that ain't happening right now, I don't think. And that was the only thinking on the raising up for the retainer wall. But, I mean, Dad's pickup in the red Suburban's going in there right away. It's pretty well, we got to get stuff off of his property a little sooner than we thought, so I'm scrambling. And I don't want to park stuff over here. I'm trying to get everything out of my way. I did end up finding an old semi-trailer. It's an old rust bucket one, Patina, I'm heard it's called, on the way to Hagler, on the east side of the road. It's older, but I'm going to haul that down, put all the kitchen equipment in there and get it out of my way, park it on this lot if need be or behind there. And then afterwards, plaster my logo on it and then set it east or west of town and call it my billboard. So it's a good-looking little older trailer. So that storage container idea I was initially asking about is kind of null now. But foundations can be poured.
Yeah. What's everybody's thoughts? I mean, basically, we've always said a year, so if you think you could get a foundation and get it tied down, you still need to tie it down some way,
Oh yeah, I got anchors right here. I'll
Yeah,
have to set with them anyway. But
so it isn't moving around.
well, sure.
And you want the full 100, because you and I had talked about maybe doing
Right.
100 by 80 and leaving that
I think.
strip in between, and I don't know if we want to approach.
I think
Mike.
just taking this and, I mean, if there's, I don't know what to do about that. I mean,
I-
deal with it or have him
And that's what I don't
sell
know
it to
if-
him and have it onto his property, because it's not he's got 100, I got 112. If he takes over where his spillage is, then it's his problem.
Well, that's why I don't know if the city wants to approach Mike and Cindy and say, you guys improve this further than what you actually bought, you want to buy more, or we've got somebody that's buying it and it's not going, technically, it's not their property. If we sell it and you want to go in there and tear it out,
Yeah,
and I know you're saying you're not going to do that, but that
Right.
could be the,
No, I
that could
understand.
be the end result if they don't own what they just developed. That's kind of my concern, that they spent all of that.
That's a heck of a nice building out there. They
Well,
definitely
it's
spent
right
their
on the
money
property
on
line,
it.
which technically they're not supposed to build within 3 foot without getting an easement.
Now, are these overhead lines accurate? I mean, if it's, there is posts set, metal posts out there. We found this old survey from, 2006, I believe,
Yeah,
that's
it's out there,
accurate enough to
sure.
keep me from having to do it, which obviously is money in the pocket for me, so
When
we'll
we
call
had-
that foundation money.
I mean, it was actually surveyed, so where Mike and Cindy are, right here in the southeast of 3, and so he's looking at the southwest of 1.
This one.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know what we want to do with that, that they've
Well-
developed that they don't own. If we want to approach them and see if they want to buy a little bit more.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if that's Okay,
I mean,
you-
really,
so
it's,
you 100
I don't know what it's affecting. I mean, a little runoff, but water's going to be running off one way or another unless I build up. So, I don't want them to build on anymore.
Yeah.
So,
They
maybe
need
just
to
keep
either
it in
pay-
hand
They
and,
need to buy that section, or,
and I'd rather have that section where it's at just because that is the higher side of things. Everything's running downhill from there.
oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not too drastic, but I think further north you get, there's more potential of a lake, if you will, if you're not built up a little bit. So I think tucked up in there as close as I can to, I forget what the top side storage units property line, that's probably where I'm going to be, 3 foot away from, but probably tuck it up as close as high as I can up there would be, I guess, what I saw. I don't have a plug or anything, but I'll probably just utilize one of the top sides or utilize Mike's. So I'd like to keep good with my neighbor. So honestly, if it's not really affecting anything, guys, and I'm not looking to put anything over on that side of the lot, even when it comes to storage units. I mean, when that time comes, we're looking at a retainer wall anyway.
Would you rather us talk to Mike and Cindy, see if they want to buy that much of it, where they moved out that far, and then sell you the rest, or would you rather just stay the way it was and buy it? And then what they put there is yours. All that asphalt that they put in there is yours.
Well, I mean, if they want the option, I mean, they probably would just to kind of keep it square, if anything. I'm not going to do anything about it, so it's whatever you think would keep everything kosher, guys.
I think you need to approach the...
I think Mike and Cindy need to be approached.
I think they need to be approached. I understand that it's a quit claim deed that would be executed to Travis, but you acknowledge that the property you are deeding to another party has an obstruction, and as far as the legal rights that Travis would have against the Fruins, or that the Fruins would have against Travis, if you were to do anything to that, it could get messy. And so I think in the interest of mitigating the liability to the city, that the Fruins need to be approached first,
Makes sense.
and then given the opportunity to purchase that, because even if Travis purchased it, he wouldn't have the right to sell it to them. He'd have to sell it back to the city, who would then sell it to them. So I
Oh,
think
that sounds fun.
So as far as
Let's skip all that.
as far as the ease of facilitation and mitigation of liability, I would encourage the city to reach out to the Fruins.
What I think too is we need to let them know that it's...
It can't be that much for them.
Yeah, and there's more to maintain, and obviously...
Yeah, right. And I mean, it's nothing they're going to have to
I think there's
change.
some stipulation they can't build it up any further to cause more drain. I don't know what
Sure.
and as far as the more they build it up, the more it could possibly drain on
I'm going to
their
guess
property
that
if we get...
slope of material is probably 15, 20 foot. I mean, there's still going to be some there, but it's still going to be what it is. It's fine. It's probably a good material, and if I want to match the material, it would be the smart thing to do, you know what I mean? So we'll make whatever's peaceful about it.
Well, does everybody agree to go ahead and sell this property to Travis, and we'll talk to Mike and Cindy first?
Yep.
Make sure they're going to buy that over to whatever distance we determine, and then Travis can have the rest of that. And if he can try to put foundation or walls or whatever within a year up there and make it more permanent. Okay.
You're right. Thanks, guys.
I don't remember what the actual price was per square foot. We
Used
can
to
figure it.
be per yard.
Oh, I'm sure
It was
we're
per
not
yard.
perfect.
I think it
Whatever.
was per
You let me
yard.
know what I owe you at this
Okay.
point,
Yeah.
and I'll
It's
bring
not
it
gonna
in.
be a lot of...
Yeah, no,
obviously.
Yeah, once we
pennies on
find
the
out,
dollar on this stuff, guys.
Yeah.
once we find out from Fruins and Cindy, we'll figure it out, and we'll get in touch with you on what the amount would be, and then go forward from there.
Now, I'm waiting on Brock Mackey to get this thing moved, and we're moving a 30-foot wide structure down the streets of St. Francis. What's
Yeah.
the best way about that?
Monday.
Dan, you might know where my head groove is. One way or another. Might get with me if we can, and I've been waiting on Brock. If he calls me tomorrow, is it okay if I go park that thing on that lot? Or later this week. He ain't calling me tomorrow. But I'm anxious to get that thing over, or I could set it off in the parking lot for the church, I believe, for a day or two, and then get it moved from there. But I'm waiting on Brock to get it
Yeah, it's
going.
moved now.
And to tell Brock
Yeah.
not to hold up, come back is not a smart thing to do if you've ever had Brock at your
We
house.
mowed around it, and then it got moved, and I knew it'd get moved as soon as he started hauling stuff to town.
You want to meet me out there and put some flags down sometime, pull some property lines? Or is there stuff to pull from? I think there's some posts to pull from. And I mean, we got a survey to go off of. See where I need to put it and see where I don't need to. Because I know the road doesn't really match where the easement's at, at least according to that picture.
Well,
So
this says that there's rebar set out there, off that survey.
there's a big old pipe sitting there on the southwest corner, and then I believe there's a T-post of some sort up by the new REA pole for Mike's building that looks potentially maybe like a property post as well. So we should have something to go off of.
Well,
That's
it looks like they're on the, looking at the legend, the black dots are, they set 3/4 inch rebar with pinto cap, and then the open circles that they found an 1/8 rebar with aluminum. So it shouldn't all be out. Oh, they just be able to find it.
Yeah. Is everybody okay with him setting a carport over there
Yep.
right now, and then we'll get all this worked up, talk to...
I would advise that Travis go on record and say he is assuming all liability for the carport being over there and will indemnify and hold harmless the city of St. Francis for any damages that come.
Yes.
Is there
I ain't going to repeat that. But I'll agree to it.
Pull your dad's pickup in there and tie it down to the
Good
pickup.
God, ain't that the
so
truth?
it's
The
gotta
pickup
take-
goes.
I'll
I
tell you
got a
what, if the
camper I can
pickup
tie it to,
disappeared,
too.
the town has disappeared.
God, really. Got his camper I could tie it to, too.
Yeah.
Jeez. Anybody in the market? Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Very
we'll get together on this property
I
real
appreciate
quick,
it.
as soon as we can. We'll look at that maybe in the next day or two, tomorrow or whenever.
There ain't no hurry. Rocky in there.
So,
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
yeah.
Oh, I've been pulling Fred cards, guys. Best I can. I'll leave you to it. Thank you, guys,
Okay.
very much.
Yep.
Okay, thanks,
Safe
Rob.
travel.
Okay, budget review again. Let them, Lila explain, she's printed out some stuff here, and
So we incorporated everything that the council had wanted in the expenses, the increased expenses, and they're all in this budget that you can look at out there on the share. But there's some things that we need to decide. So on this spreadsheet that I handed out, I just want to kind of go over this real quick. And I want to make sure everyone understands. So the revenue neutral rate is the tax rate for the current year that would generate the same property tax revenue that was levied the previous year, using the current tax year's total assessed valuation. Does that make sense? So last year, the total mill levy, because the valuations weren't as high, was 43.028, and the actual tax dollars that were generated from that was $338,279. For the city, the total tax revenue was $377,736, and that includes the library. We don't have any choice on the library. There's the charter ordinance that specifies 4.5%, or as close to that as possible. So with that said, down below, what I kind of did was I just took percentages of that tax revenue, percentage increases, and plugged them into the budget spreadsheet to show what your mill levy would be, because, again, valuations are really high. They went way up. So the mill levy is going to be less, of course. But the significant thing that I want to point out here is to support the general fund, the majority of it is going to have to come from transfers from the utility fund. So the amount, if you were to raise the taxes 3% over the previous year, we would have to transfer in $412,000 from the general to the utility. Now that sounds high, but I want to remind you guys that last year the general fund did not require any transfers because we had the revenue replacement from the ARPA funds, we had the shuttered venue grant for the theater, so we did not have to transfer anything into the general last year, and we put all of that would have gone there into the capital improvement and the equipment reserve. And so down at the bottom, you can see the amounts that we currently have in capital improvement and equipment reserve, and then less the $200,000 that we're committed to for this year for Ward Electric. Our budgeted transfers that we can do this year, and the total that we will end up at the end of 2022, and that's pretty significant. That's about what we generally have in our capital improvement fund year over year. So you're still able to continue on with your electrical infrastructure improvements without transferring anything next year into those funds. I also want to point out down at the bottom, the infrastructure improvement fund, that's the one that the 1% sales tax is generating. Currently, there's about $234,000 in there. We anticipate another $215,000 this year. So at the end of the year in that fund, you'll have about $450,000 at the end of this year. And that's pretty significant as well. So the whole point of this is that we can do the transfers that are required from the utility to the general fund in any of these scenarios that I've got here. So the decision that the council needs to make is how much you want to increase the taxes to supplement that. I will say that I took an average of the last 5 years, and that's where the 3% came from. Over the last 5 years, it's varied, 2.5. There was one year that we were up to 4 something, but the average increase every year has been around 3%. So that's why I kind of picked that one to put, and that's what's out on the share. We do need to go through the budget. Again, I shouldn't take a lot of discussion, but I do want to go through it page by page so you guys see the entire budget tonight before you do anything. Anybody have any questions on that spreadsheet? It makes perfect sense to me, but I created it.
I think we need to look through the budget stuff, and then we can come back and determine what we want to do there.
Okay.
To me, I mean, the 3% looks fine. I hate to go more than that, and we don't not want to go less than that. So, unless everybody's comfortable with that, we leave it there.
Yeah. I like the average. To the extreme.
What if everybody likes that then?
Let's go through the budget first, and then what I'm going to ask for is a motion, because we're going to have a motion to exceed the revenue neutral rate, and also to set our public hearing. But if it's okay, let's just go ahead and go through the budget real quick and see if anybody has any questions. I hope everybody can bring it up on the share. It's hold on here just a second. I need to bring it up on mine. So I'm going to skip over, well, I probably shouldn't. The very first page that's generally on the budget is the certificate page, and that's going to show, and again, this is based on the 3%, because that's what I plugged into this. Hopefully, I'm not lying to you. $393,365. Yes. So that certificate page just breaks it down by fund, the totals for each fund, and the, oh, these things, terrible, and the amount of ad valorem tax for the library and also for the general. The next page is the motor vehicle allocation. These are the amounts that we get from the state. This is what they are telling us we will likely get in 2023. So that breaks it down for all the different motor vehicle taxes that we get for the library and for us. That's on page 2. Page 3 is our schedule of transfers. We still have some amounts that would be designated to be transferred into capital improvement and equipment reserve, but those are also what I would call your, not fluff. I don't want to call it fluff, but that's money that's in there. You don't have to transfer it out. So if we run into something that we have to spend that money on in the utility fund, it's there and you can still spend it. It does not have to be transferred out. But it could be at the end of the year if you guys choose to do so. So there's a little bit still going into those two funds, but not a significant amount. Any questions on that page? We have on the very bottom, we have a transfer, and this will be consistent every year, coming out of that infrastructure sales tax fund and going into the bonded interest, and those are that will match the payments that are going to be due next year. So when we issue new bonds, that's going to go up and include that payment. Statement of indebtedness is just that. It's the statement of what we owe. We have our general obligation bonds for the streets. We have a loan, the sewer loan. It's getting, I think that's going to be paid off in the next 2 years, I think. We just looked at that, Leanne. I can't remember. It's like 2 or 3 years. I don't remember.
2024?
That seems
That
right.
seemed like it
yeah.
was 24 or 25, I don't remember.
And then on the next page, the PBC bonds are considered a lease because we're leasing that pool from the Public Building Commission and making payments to them for the debt. So that's why it shows up as a lease. The next page is just a worksheet that the auditors use to see if the library is eligible for state funding, state grants. I don't do anything with this particular page. They always take care of it, and whatever they do, they make sure that the library will qualify for these grants. And so this page is just showing that they will. The levy next year would be 4.501, a little higher than the 4.5, but that's how it all worked out. The next page is the general fund revenue, and nothing changed on here. It was all in the expenses that we made some changes after the budget workshop. The only thing that wasn't in the budget workshop are the transfers. So we've got $412 coming from electric and water, and then we have $40,000 coming from the sewer utility. Any questions on that page? I'm going kind of fast. Let me know if I need to slow down. You good? Okay. The next page is the expenditures. The next 2 pages. Page 7A is the summary of the expenditures. 7B is all of the departments. And there were some increases in here, and I should have brought my notes from the budget workshop, but I did double check, and everything that we had talked about has been included in here. The increases for the fuel, equipment expenses, all of that, we added the increased amounts, and so it is all in here in the budget. We increased the Cheyenne County Development Corporations by that around $4,000, and let's see, that was about it. But again, everything you talked about is in here. Page 8, at the top is our bond and interest fund. That's a very straightforward fund. It's non-budgeted. It's just the, this one might be a budgeted one. This one is budgeted. It is just that. It just shows the transfers that are coming in from the sales tax fund. There's a misspelling there. And going out to make the payments. So that's all that fund's about. The library fund is down below. That is just an in and out. Everything we get in goes out as long as we don't exceed budget authority. Page 9. So on page 9 at the top is the special highway fund. You'll notice that there's nothing in the expenditures for this year. And the reason I did that is with the way that things are going with the people who do the work for us, the major work, the intersection work and stuff, I don't anticipate that Brock's going to get to any of that this year. And he might. And if he does, that's okay. But by putting it to 0, if he doesn't do any of that work, that moves all that money over to next year so that you have all of that budget authority to do work next year. So what will happen is if he does do work this year, it'll just reduce our unencumbered cash at the beginning of next year. And you won't be able to spend that because you won't have it, but you'll still have the budget authority to do so for all of it. Does that make sense to everyone, why we did it that way? Okay. Special parks, the money that comes into here is strictly from the local alcohol liquor tax, and it can only be used for certain things. We have always used it to pay the Scout Hut utilities. So that's what that is. The next page is the utility fund, electric and water. This one went up quite a bit with the expenditures because of the cost of everything, so we did increase all of that. I'm trying to see if there was anything else. The water expense, we kept it the same as this year, but it's more than what we actually spent last year. I don't see anything that's, we included everything you wanted. The gas and oil and all that stuff is more than what we had previously had. Any questions on that?
We could just print money, you know.
You could try that. Next one's the sewer utility. We have the increased amount there in the operation expenses so that we can do the sewer cleaning. Bump that up a little bit. That should be sufficient. And then we've got some transfers coming out of that fund as long as the money is there at the end of the year. I will mention, forgot to mention this, since we're doing so much from the utility fund as transfers into the general fund, we usually would save our transfers for the end of the year, but it's very possible next year that we may, halfway through the year, need to do a transfer and move some of that money into the general fund so it doesn't go negative. And that's not unusual, and it's just, Leanne, I'll show Leanne how to watch for that and know when it needs to happen, and you'll just have to make a motion to move the funds. Next page, on page 11, is the refuse utility at the top. It's really hard to say if we're going to generate that much revenue next year. We hope so. We hope this fund does well. Leanne will keep a close eye on this one as well. If it gets into trouble, you'll just have to pay some expenses out of the general or something like that. Perhaps if it just depends on what direction you go next year, what to do with that. The tourism convention, then we get the revenue from the guest tax is all that is, and tried to give ourselves as much budget authority as possible to spend it if we need to. The next one is the infrastructure sales tax, and that is just what it says. That's the 1% sales tax. Everything coming in and going out and where it's going. That one's very straightforward. Non-budgeted funds. These are all of our just different funds that aren't budgeted. The money goes in and we can spend them as we need. Equipment reserve. Now this is just showing actual numbers from 2021. This isn't going to show anything for the upcoming budget or anything going in for this year. So this is basically just a report from the audit that shows where everything's at as of 2021. The Weinstein one, we're going to use the money out of that for those signs. So that fund will be depleted this year down to zero. You'll see a negative cash balance down at the end of 2021 for the grants, and that was because of the payment that had to be made out of period 13. We made it in February, but it had to be out of period 13, and so that made it drop to a negative. She was not concerned about that because it was grant funds, and we knew the grant funds were coming. So, well, actually, we'd already gotten them. But. Next one, the street bond project, that is just that. That is just the money that we get from bonds revenue, goes into this fund, and that's an in and out thing. That cash balance at the end there, that's not what we currently have. We talked about that at the last meeting. We currently have around $48,000 in there, but that was at the end of 21. And the last two pages, page 15, that will be our notice of the hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate and the budget hearing. So this will have everything that we're proposing. The revenue neutral rate, 337.57. Our proposed tax rate is mill levy is 39.123. Anybody looking at this will notice that it's less than the last 2 years as far as the mill levy is concerned. The only other thing that I need on this when we get all done is we'll have to decide when to have our hearing. We can have it at the beginning of a council meeting, and we can have them combined. We can have, if you recall last year, we have our R&R hearing, we close that, then we have our budget hearing, and then we close that. It has to be between August 20th and September 30th, so the two dates for council meetings would be August 22nd or September 12th. So either one of those would work. Last year we did it in the second meeting in August. We just need to decide tonight because I have to have that to count. Second one in August?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll include that when you guys make your motion. And the last page is the neighborhood revitalization rebate. I don't do anything with this. The auditors figure all this out for us, so I'm not really sure how that's calculated. Maybe Amanda knows. I do. That was really fast. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Okay, so let me look here. So here's the motion that we'll need. A motion to notify the county clerk of the city's intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate with a proposed mill levy rate of 39.123 and a revenue neutral rate hearing to be held on August 22nd at 7 p.m. And we'll need that to be a roll call.
Okay, did I hear that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Been moved by Amanda, second by Cale. Yeah, second. Cale.
Yes.
And Darius. Larry. Okay, passed.
All right.
Good job.
Good.
Okay, the next thing we have is the zoning of properties at Highway 36. I still do not believe that. I mean, they was going back to when Zillman put in Zillman the motor up there. Bay Cafe was there way before. Bay Cafe was there in the 50s sometime, early 50s probably. The Bay Cafe and the Phillips 66 service station, those have been there forever.
So we probably need to explain.
So last summer, I was working with JR, and he had sent me the part of our ordinance that had what was zoned commercial, what was zoned commercial/residential, and had me help map it out. And we mapped it out, and what was the unplatted areas I sent off to the mapping company had them, and none of that south of the highway, from the state building out, none of that's zoned. So by our ordinance, it defaults to residential. So with all the generals at, Western Auction, none of that is actually zoned, which that's what we're sitting here going, we're hard to believe that. How long has there been businesses along the highway that, according to what we mapped out last summer, that was in the ordinance, it's not part of that. Now, whether or not, I don't know.
Dollar General, that was just put in,
Probably. Did you say $5? Not probably.
I bet
Probably,
it's 5.
probably not 10, but it's.
I've only been here for 7 years, and I came here after I was here.
As I say, I was in 2016.
Is it possible for us to call it to the tracks out?
I have no idea. Like I said, because last meeting we talked about it, and said, I know that JR and I worked on that. And so Lila made a comment, what if the city just zoned all of that residential/commercial? Just to clean it up and be done with that whole section and not have to worry
That
about
makes
it.
sense, thing.
Well, with the simplest thing, is you have to have notice and you have to have a hearing on it.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to publish it. And
Right.
That's what
I think you have to publish it and the hearing date has to be set not less than 30 days. I looked that up last meeting. I can look it up again real fast. I think it's, you have
And
to,
then it's, yeah.
you have to publish notice of the hearing, and the hearing has to be set not less than 30 days from
I
the
don't know if I put
publication.
those details in my minutes, Amanda.
I'm pretty sure you did. Lawrence clarified the ordinance contains a rezoning of the property and pointed out that in order for the property at 801 South River, or 801,
Yeah.
to be rezoned, Mr. Road would need to obtain consent of the owners of 80% of the area below and deemed by the council to be immediately affected by the proposed use area. Once he obtains that, there would need to be a publication of a public notice followed by a public hearing 30 days after publication.
And not necessarily 30 days exactly, but not fewer than 30 days.
So,
You're talking about doing commercial and residential?
Just all of it.
Yeah.
That way no one's going to be.
That way you could use it either or. And actually where this Brogan, that Connor Brogan's going to be, he's going to have it as residential and commercial, because he's residential on there too, so that puts that the way he wanted for sure. You know, it still wasn't be like the rest of them went right along the highway, but still it'd be zoned either or. But I just can't believe.
I can't either, but I knew that came up last summer that we had talked about it.
So do we need a motion to do that, or?
I mean, you'll need, if you're going to do that, you need to set a date for a hearing, and the notice needs to be.
Maybe we need to move forward.
That's everybody's thoughts.
I think we do it.
I think it's the simplest and,
It's the smartest thing to do. Something done.
yeah.
So, okay, do I hear a motion to move forward to rezoning that?
So, second. Whatever.
Moved by David, second by Cale, all in favor. Approved. We're going to move forward with the zoning as commercial residential, or residential commercial, or house order. Move forward and get it cleaned up. Okay, we'll move on to old business, property cleanups. We've been gaining on some of them. There's one property that she got it all cleaned up, the sheep's even gone, I mean, it looks
That's really good.
Yeah. And, gold. Everything, I mean, it's,
What about 302 East Spencer?
That's, since everything in today, that's
Yeah.
Okay. That one you get over there.
Yes.
Because the details.
I think that
No.
go west of.
I think they were hoping that you would come up with what we need to do, like maybe do on other things. Set a hearing date and then publish notice.
yeah, I took
So-
it today. I didn't see much.
Well, it's not thumbs out anymore.
Right through, they might have threw some of it up into that pickup.
That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, that looks good too.
Yeah, they do. But they just moved it in.
I mean, some properties have been doing really well, and the one down on Emerson, and I know they got a citation on it, but the carport, almost everything's gone from under the carport. There's a little bit there, but there's still stuff around the house. So they're not done yet, but yeah, I mean, I'm surprised at what they have done. One up on College Street, they're still plugging away with all their trees and everything up there. It's looking better. There's probably, I don't know, maybe we need to visit with them. That one evergreen up there is clear out into the street up there. That would be College and Second Street.
If someone was to buy that property next to me, is that doable at this point or no?
Well, I know she's got it for sale. She hasn't put it up for sale, but there's been some people interested.
Did you get her number?
What's that?
Did you get her number?
I don't have her number. I just know that she has priced it to a couple different people, but nobody's done anything yet with it, so. I don't know. I don't think I've got her. I bet I can find her number. For you. Let's see if I can find it tomorrow.
Those trees from the river there. Highway. Did we do that? Yeah. That looks good.
They were pulled because we got a water line.
Oh, did you get some of that done? Okay.
Okay.
Right up here. Highway trust.
Oh,
I talked to Scott about it, and said we have to protect the water line.
Yeah.
It was getting overgrown.
what about those trees to the north?
And then we'll try to take it down sometime.
Hopefully. All the way till after harvest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully next few weeks. Do you guys think you can do it?
Or anybody that do that was Carl on somebody. Tree trimmer can do that. Contact us.
Anything else on property cleanup? If anybody sees anything, let us know, and we'll get pictures of it. Be visiting with people. A couple of them, we extended them, gave them a little bit more time. But once that comes up, we'll get after them. So,
We had several people call. We had one just recently. We had somebody come to court and ask for extra time. My position is that your time to ask for extra time was when the letter went out, not when the citation went out. So it's going to be my position that if you don't the purpose of having that notice period is to give them the opportunity to contact the council. After that, they're issued a ticket. At that point, it generates a court case. It generates paperwork for Lila. And so my position is I'm not giving you any more grace period.
Because they have the 15 days.
They have the time to contact the city. And if they don't take that seriously and then they issue a citation and then they decide they want to comply, that's not,
We've only had two that have contacted us. All these letters we've sent out, two have contacted us.
and
I
one
sent
contacted
them.
Lila today, was it today? One contacted Lila today, but that was upon receipt of the citation.
Mhm.
They didn't contact upon, and so I'm going to prosecute. I mean, we've been too lenient for too long, I think.
Question on the 616 South Denison.
Yeah.
They've already went through the court process,
Yes.
and they were given the additional time.
Yes.
And so once that, what was that date?
30 days from the date of the court date, which was the 17th of June? I think it was the 17th, June 17th. It was a Thursday. So as of July 17th, in legal matters, counting time starts the day after. So technically, their 30 days starts June 18th, and so that goes through July 17th. So the midnight on the 18th, that all accrues.
All of that, and then you can go into another citation.
Well, I mean, it continues to accrue. I mean, it's all under the same. It's under the same case. It is continuing to accrue until it is cleaned up under this case. What we did was merely a potential abatement. We essentially did we gave them a grace period. We told them that it would continue to accrue, however, it would be abated. Those days would be abated if they got it cleaned by the end of that period. I mean, we're still going to pay whatever that amount was. I don't have the file with me, so I can't tell you, but they were still going to pay whatever that amount was. It's just we were going to give them 30 days to get it cleaned up. And if it got cleaned up in those 30 days, then the penalty would stop as of the court date. But if they didn't get it cleaned up in 30 days, then all 30 days penalties was assessed and it would continue to accrue. So, I mean, it's not, we can issue them another citation, but it's already accruing under this, so we'd have to stop this court case. And then...
What is, I mean, on any properties like that and stuff, what happens if it just keeps continuing?
I guess that was my concern is, so where we changed the ordinance where the first offense, the second offense, the third offense, it gets more expensive. If it just continues and it's accruing, and it's accruing at $25 a day as opposed to $50 or $100 a day, with a little more teeth they might be at.
Well...
I mean, I don't know. That was my concern.
I mean, I have to be honest with you. I don't think, in that instance, I don't think we're going to see this money. I think we're going to be sending it to CBK. I mean, I think we're going to be sending this to the collection agency.
Could be possibly condemning the public. I mean,
Right. I mean, that's an entire possibility. I mean, we're not sure.
What do we do with properties that they never want to clean them up? There's some other properties that are going to be
there is the potential for jail time. There is the potential for jail time in the statute. It allows, in the ordinance, it allows for jail time. I would think that I think we left the jail time in there. I can't seem to log onto my server for some reason, so I don't have...
Those expenses would come back on us.
It would come back on us, but at that point, I don't know. There's only so much that we can do shy of condemning that property.
Do we have an ordinance for the public nuisance, too? There's just so many things that are just wrong with some of these properties that's just unreal.
If it rises to the level of public nuisance, it could be prosecuted under public nuisance, but that's going to be whether it meets the criteria set forth by the UPOC, Uniform Public Defense Code.
I think we have an ordinance on. I think it requires two complaints. I just happened to see it the other day.
For the nuisance? Do we have the UPOC? The UPOC, I can go over there.
Yep. I'd say
what do we do?
There's a half a dozen of them I see that we're going to have the same thing, and it's going to go on and on and on, and it's devaluating everybody else's property big time, scaring even some of the people. Ines should they called us. Don't know what's going on. He even went over there and scared them. She just come to, she lives in Memphis with her daughter now. So they come back once a year during harvest time. And they've been here for a little over a week now. They left today.
Where are we on the agenda? Do we have several things we can go on to, and then I can circle back with this in my attorney report?
We can jump up.
This is gonna take me a couple minutes to get to.
Project spending, anybody have anything on that we need to be,
The new grants will be ordered for Washington State Distribution, and Mr. Baxter was going to speak about these.
What was that? Sorry.
Michael Baxter he was waiting on some information from me for some, he requested the map with the actual measurement on it.
Mm.
They were looking at that, but I got that to him last week. He has everything he needs to move forward, so.
have you heard about the billboards for the, up on the highway?
So this one's total space lighting installment. Is this the?
One was for the LED that we need to get fixed, and then the other one's the old.
Yeah, they were saying something about, they talked to Lila about this, but they were saying something about the way the old sign was, pretty much thing in the past. You can't do it that way.
Which one are we talking about? The
I was
one up
thinking
there?
village, all about the village.
So they don't have the old marquees like that with they just put the letters up on, like you said, or a thing at the past. And he gave us a couple of thoughts on that. One was to make the sign just a permanent fixed sign, just like the city logo or something on it, or the motorcycle museum or something on each side. But that doesn't seem to be the intent, the expected intent of that sign. It meant, I think people are expecting personal greetings. They can do that. The corrugated Lexington is no longer available. The sign is too large. They'd have to put a split and make it two different faces, with one of the faces being a fixed something like the city logo, and the other one being something that letters could be put up on. The price for that was between $7,500 and $8,500. My biggest concern with this is who's going to be responsible for putting, because it's not a city sign. It has to be very clear who's responsible for it, because
I know it. And the one that's been taking care of it for years and years, they're to the point where it'd have to be somebody, it really needs to be somebody younger that's doing that, but, that's
Back
going
when
to
it was kind of chamber into.
that is who bought the sign was the chamber. He remembered that. He did give us an option of $1,100 to remove the sign and cut the pole off at grade. So those are the options that he gave on that sign. The LED sign up here is an old sign. It's no longer really being supported. There's no replacement parts. He did find 2 of the modules that we can get, and that's how many are out on it right now. And he recommended that we go ahead and get them, because they're probably not going to be able to find any more. They're $672 a piece. $500 labor and transportation. Total cost would be $1,844 to replace the 2 modules that are out on the LED sign.
So they're already saying that's outdated.
Yes. How much for you sign?
That I don't know. This one was about $8,000, wasn't it? It was before I started,
More than that.
was it?
Maybe 18,000.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't remember, but it was quite a bit higher.
ooh.
And that hasn't been that many
He says it's out of the 10-year window.
years.
for-
Probably, yeah, it's over 10, but between 10 and 15, and it's already outdated. Little towns can't be outdated that fast. We don't have the money. I'd say we got to get another one's ordered, so do I hear a motion to approve getting the other stuff ordered and getting it fixed, and see how long we can last.
Are we gonna run the same thing now
Eventually,
with other models?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
moved by David, second by Amanda, all in
On the,
favor?
on the other side, should we see if we can find someone who's going to, or at least some of the group of people who are going to maintain that information on it before we decide to remove it?
Yeah, we'd almost need to have somebody in mind, but then also, what was the foundation thinking? They was gonna,
I can ask.
foundation was wanting to put some money into that, and so, but that would be a $5,000 limit, is what they put into it. So then we're still short the rest of it.
And it's not the same sign. It's not even our property or anything.
And I don't ask people to change it.
No.
You can do it, right? Your evenings, fancy weekends.
I mean, basically it was used for birthdays, anniversaries, those kind of things.
They have a different, like a new artist art gallery, I mean, there's, some community. A little bit.
Just so clear, this is the one that's about the,
And they say, welcome on, yeah,
Yeah.
car shows, weekend, or, that type of thing. It's not like the LED kind of.
We do it on the LED
I
signs,
know,
do
say
it
that
out the
too.
bank,
I know.
get people to call in, and, not everything can be put on there, but it does, certain things we allow to be put on there.
I guess the personal greetings, because it's
Yeah,
your personal greetings.
The birthdays and anniversaries and stuff. But anymore, that's on Facebook, and everybody sees it right there, faster than anything else. So I guess we can hold off on that and see if the foundation or if anybody comes up with any ideas there.
You said the total was like, what, 8,000?
He's estimating between 7,500 and 8,500 to have half of it be a marquee that can be changed, and the other half would just be something fixed.
And the thing is, if that's half, the letters are going to be small enough that it's going to be hard to read.
You're
If
talking
you're changing it
same
up to
size?
be bigger.
Half of it would be fixed, and half of it would be
Yeah, but would it be the same size or would it be a bigger size?
No,
the same size.
You're talking half,
Use
half.
it from-
Yeah, so the letters are going to be a lot smaller.
Almost look like, unless you could just get one fixed sign. Yeah. I'm sure maybe just getting one to do that.
You already had people slowing down and read it when the letters were bigger.
Yeah.
And we're slowing down dangerously.
But if we just made it into a, what do you think? I don't know what to put on it, but
Right.
I guess we could just make it.
Welcome to St. Francis, both sides. I mean, we've got that up there at the EMS building, but that's really kind of hard to see because that's on that rock wall there, and you just don't see that if you're going east and west through town. Unless you turn to look toward the EMS building.
I guess we can just table it for
That was for the 2 fixed sign faces, and LED lighting was $6,580.
What now?
For 2 fixed sign faces, and LED lighting was $6,580. So,
You're probably going to be about that big.
the sign is about, I would say it's like 10 feet, maybe 4 feet tall. Feels like it. I know.
But the letters are going to be half the size that they were before.
Mhm.
I think people are going to have trouble reading them.
Yeah, I think we're just going to hold on to the new
Do you, well, that was kind of brought up on the city billboard signs, so I'll just add it to that, I guess, on the project spending. I'm going to change the sick leave payout policy to just be sick leave policy that you guys were talking about at the budget, and at some point in the future to decide what you want to do with that.
Anything else we need to talk about, project spending?
What is the business electrical upgrade policy for the senior year?
What?
I can answer that. That has been on there for years, and it had to do with whether or not people would have to pay for their upgrades. And I have a written policy, but it was never, they are never wanted to bring it up. So I have that. If you want to bring that up.
So, we're getting people knocking on the door right now asking about more power and stuff.
I think that was kind of our intent behind it, was they want us to upgrade it for them. We wanted some sort of
Yeah,
insurance that we were getting,
that we would
getting a return on.
get enough return to pay for it. And there's some properties that you don't get enough return for.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I have one person that wants 3-phase power for 8 ice creams. One ice cream.
I guess you can take a look at the plan.
It would take a while to pay for it. And he may come ask for it too, I don't know. I told him those his prerogative to ask.
I will find the policy that JR and I had been working on it.
Get it out maybe before the next meeting, we can take a look at it again and take a look at it.
Yeah, that's what that was for.
Saw him or.
No, I was just going to mention that too. The seating area. It's not fair. And I'm guessing Greg never found anybody either that would come out here and give us a bid or estimate on what to do and stuff.
Never heard of it.
Nope.
At this point, we're still trying to stay into the historical aspect, or we just want it down? Well,
Yeah, we're kind of stuck on the historical deal right now unless, I don't know if we can get out of that now.
Mhm.
I've had several conversations with several people about it.
well, we've been praying every night for rain up there, and then Miss Rath came up and her husband Dale. She was wearing white britches. She sat down. She had a back of her britches were all black. And it was just, you got to do something.
But I think the band shell, the seating, and the fountain are in the Historical Society. That whole thing's in the Historical Society. But if they can't come up with anybody to do it, then I don't know.
It's going to be, who are you going to find in local or tri-state area or something?
I mean, we haven't found anybody.
Yeah. That one guy
I wish I
from
found anybody.
Bauman from Dillon came over and gave us an estimate of sandblasting, but it was fairly high, 28,000 or something. And that wasn't no cleanup either. And then we didn't know what was going to happen after we got done. I don't know.
Did you hear any comments from the concerts?
Oh, a few here and there. Nothing that I would call drastic.
Okay.
I mean, people at that stage are, they're enjoying the park.
Right.
I probably heard more from in-town people than I have out-of-town people. Out-of-town people they just want to enjoy the park. There is a big issue on whether or not to keep it in the historical rule. Because it costs us so much, so substantially higher to do that. And a couple of people have told me, well, you can get grant funding for it. I said, you can get grant funding without it. Without all the stipulations.
It kind of falls in the same category of crossovers. People who don't understand what we're facing. We just look like that for freedom.
You could get a lot more done. And we researched it. The kicker's going to be explaining somebody what you want to do.
Yeah, finding somebody.
And then, like Scott says, once you get it down to base level, how much damage we got? That concrete eating away and...
I think if we can find somebody, we can have that conversation, whether or not we get out of it or not, but we gotta find somebody that's going to work.
The problem being in the historical system, and I'm not going to say on record, but you have to go back to what it originally was. You can't go back and say, take it down to ground level, and we're going to do something with it. Code it somehow. The simplest thing would be to take it back to concrete and then put epoxy enamel paint on it, or something to hold up. But you don't know what kind of concrete damage you're going to have when you tear all that down.
And then the question is, if it was a historical society, taking it back to the original state, even if we're getting a deal, being in the society, and that's still going to be more expensive. Or less expensive.
Because you're not going to get it. It costs us significantly higher to do it that route. This is like the concrete that poured on the floor. I mean, it was 6-7 times the size it should have been.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it could have been done
Committee back then,
for, say again,
there was a committee of volunteers on the Sawmill Park. When was that?
There was one
Was that
40 years ago.
Oh, okay.
40 years ago when they poured all the cement sidewalks in the park.
Okay.
That was 3 main contractors, and we poured all that cement in one day, all the sidewalks and everything. A lot of that has been repoured again. There's spots, and there's even more spots that are even worse again, because that was 40 years ago.
But you and myself and someone else in there, we met with Greg.
Yeah, we met with him sometimes, and met with him when we did. But yes, it costs more going through the historical. I don't know what it takes to get out of it. Maybe all it takes to get out of it is we start doing stuff on our own and it automatically kicks you out, but I don't think so.
I think it's a
Really?
they found out across the street.
Was that just cheaper?
For some other work they're having done across the street. Yeah, to go by their rules.
Well, that still be cheaper than... The other thing is it would be nice if whenever we did anything on it, the steps on both sides are so small and narrow. A older person coming down, if they get up there,
oh, you mean inside?
yeah, it's really easy to miss a step. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So it'd be, I don't know, that's not even add more to the expense. I know if we ever widen those, it'd be nice.
There's some give to it and not a whole lot of give. I mean, I think something like that, if it's capable of making them 12 inches instead of 7 or 8, I think you can do some stuff like that, just for, safety
They
issues.
could put handrails down the front courthouse steps because that wasn't original.
Yeah.
Even though,
Handrails for
but they get into Crazyville. I mean, that's the,
But you're talking about the steps on the inside?
Yeah, going up to the seating.
yeah, when you're at the stake and you come on both sides to come up, you walk up those steps on both sides and they're literally that wide. And if you got a woman in high heel shoes or you got an elderly woman or an elderly man, I mean, they can miss a step so easy.
Your levels aren't pretty rough.
Yeah.
The stairs and stuff too.
I guess then we can look into it, see
See what takes.
what it, yeah, if we, before we,
Long nights.
first of all, we're going to have to find space.
Yeah.
And then we got to figure out what
Then
it's
we
going to
got
cost us
to
to get
stay in
it.
it, to do everything hard.
Part of the major concern about the historical side of things was maintaining the paintings on the inside of the building. There's phenomenal paintings.
Yeah, there really is.
But there's a lot of that that could have destroyed too.
Which I'm amazed at the one in the basement, the whole bottom's gone. And I went down there sometime last year. No more of it fell. And
You've got, like inside, the flooring needs redone. You've got a hole in the northeast corner. We had to lay a piece of plywood down just so that the people won't fall.
Yeah, imagine replacing that too.
Isn't that another?
Good close, I think.
Well, that's where the band is for the concert. So we put all the equipment.
It's not a,
I don't know.
We use the back.
it's not an attraction.
Yeah. Well, with Miller and
Just saying, I don't even know how they're even at it.
Did they tell us if they would do something like that?
It's exactly right.
I don't know. Miller and Associates with, well, today when I was in Dillon, there was an outfit out of Kearney, Nebraska, and it had sandblasting on it. I don't know what they were doing in the Dillon area, or maybe they were just passing through, I don't know. But it's from Kearney, Nebraska. Johnson Sandblasting, something incorporated.
it's actually a very good idea.
Miller's might have a good for somebody that, and maybe we just go in there and try to sandblast in one area, let's see what happens.
I mean, there's no way that you can go in there and repair it the way it says. You're gonna have to take the surface off.
Yeah.
Then you might be able to hurt when you get into that concrete, whether you can patch it.
I think some of it's going to be all right, except for there'll be some cracks you'd have to patch, but then some of it's just going to fall apart. Some of it's going to fall apart. And that's not really cement, it's plastic. It's a cement, but it's plastic cement.
Go back over.
The old plaster guys that troweled it on and formed it. And
Don't you think you go back over when you did shape it up, though, that epoxy? That lasts?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, epoxy enamel lasts long. Then you take it over.
So the only thing bad about the epoxy is then it makes them steps more dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Really stiff. But
But you could put,
maybe we could put a strip on there to keep it from that. So
The kind of fundraisers we could do was the city.
no. The reason I say that is you're talking way too much money. You'd have
how
to
much
get-
is that Gardner Miller money still left?
27,000, 26,000, something like that.
Okay. But I was thinking 29.
Yeah.
Would that even get a sandblast?
That's about, yeah, that one estimate was all it was.
And that was a couple years ago, isn't it?
Yeah.
At least a year.
That's been over a year, yeah, I'd say about 2 years ago. And the bad thing about that is, to me, the plaster work, we're fixing it, will be more expensive than the sandblasting.
And do we have anyone local who can do plaster work?
Are you volunteering?
The only only guy that could do it is oh gosh, I can't think of his name up in Cook. And he's 80-some years old and not know if they're doing it anymore. And they used to come down here and do some plaster work and stuff. But, well, we need to look into it then. Because in our years to be gone, another year.
Are you wanting myself or Dan, you mentioned Miller and Associates? Or
Yeah, we might have Miller and Associates, see if they would, sometime when they're in town, maybe we could have them take a look, or if they can at least give us an idea.
If they know if they're
Anybody that can sandblast and,
And then I guess I don't know as far as reaching out to the Historical Society, what it would entail if we wanted to get out.
I'll find out. Try to find out.
Yeah. All I know is...
Careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I heard the place across the street was looking at getting out.
Yeah.
What are they going to be fined? Asking for a friend.
Right.
part of our problem is where we're located. And people don't want to travel that far to do the work. There's a lot of it. Okay, is that it on project spending? We'll go back to the carpet cleanup stuff. And what did you find?
Okay, so you can't, it's upon first conviction and then upon second conviction, but the first conviction doesn't end until the property is cleaned up, so you cannot charge a second act. However, in addition to or as an alternative to prosecution as provided in the penalty section beforehand, a public officer may seek to remedy violations of this article in the following manner. If they haven't alleviated the conditions causing the alleged violation or requesting a hearing, there may be a resolution presented to the governing body for adoption authorizing the public officer or other agents of the city to abate the conditions. So there is a possibility of resolution for abatement. And so in that case, the city officers would go in and abate the condition, and the costs of that abatement would be billed to that individual, and if they are not paid within 30 days, then they're assessed against the property.
Does that still solve our problems?
Gets it cleaned up.
So here's the thing, is it does get it cleaned up, and then the next time it's charged under a second violation. I mean, I don't know that that's going to...
Is that something that the city would actually have permission to do that? Legally?
You don't ask permission, you have
No,
the
but I
authority
mean,
to go in there and do it.
Does that create any issues?
I mean... Pursuant to the ordinance, no, it shall... They have the option to go in and abate it. However, there's the concern for potential liability of, I mean, if there is damage to that property or if it is disposed of. I mean, they have to prove damages, which, I mean...
Didn't we go in and clean up, down by the old summer hole? Didn't the city actually go in and clean some stuff up?
The old Miller property?
Was it the old Miller? Wasn't it with, was it Dallas with the trees? Didn't we go down there and actually do some cleanup? I don't know what that...
At Dallas Staples?
Staples, because he had a bunch of, he trimmed trees and he had a bunch of wood. And we did a property cleanup on
Yeah.
it.
But there's a difference between a bunch of wood and, like, a transmission in the yard. I mean, there's a difference between whether the thing has value or does not have value.
It would have value to him. I mean,
Right, I mean,
yeah.
and the thing is, I mean...
It was selling, right? Was he not selling firewood or what? I mean... I don't know how you decipher what has value and what doesn't. Just,
Do we have something that stops them from having a junkyard in town? Because we've got another one starting right now. I mean, junkyard. That's what we're having is junkyards. And so, and that junkyard is just everything, scattered.
I don't
I mean,
know.
we're getting too many of them.
Leon's welding fabrication days.
I was going to go back and look. I can't remember. It seems like it was given to somebody, they came and took it away and hauled it off.
Yeah, there was something about it was hauled somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the vehicles, the vehicles, let them know they'll be impounded and it's at their cost to retrieve them. If it happens again, we're going to go through the same process. You can go retrieve them, but if you put them back on that property, we're just going to impound them again. I need $50 a day. I mean, I don't think that they're going to pay the city. I just don't think they're going to. I think this is going to be turned over to CDK.
Yeah, and we don't want to incur more expense by doing it.
Yeah.
And there's several of these properties where eventually we'll have to go in and clean them up. So we just need to be ready because there's more and more of them happening all the time.
It has to be a resolution, and it has to have a resolution. It has to pass by a vote. It has to be personally served. It has to give the same 10-day notice of 15-day abatement. There's specific things that need to be in the resolution, which are in the code. So, I mean, I guess if I am to draft a resolution, I'll need to know. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we can wait till the 18th, that's next Monday. I mean, it expires as of next Monday, and that gives me a week to draft it before the following council meeting.
When is the next
The next city court is on the 20th. It's on the 20th. No, it doesn't matter, because if we're doing the resolution, it's basically a new service process. I mean, it's going to continue to accrue in that matter, because it states that the abatement can be in lieu of or in addition to, or as an alternative to prosecution as provided in Section 8-2A10, and that's the penalty of $70 per day. So it says in addition to or as an alternative to, and so, I mean, we just keep it running but we have to do a resolution. The council has to adopt a resolution, which I would have to draft and bring to the council. The council has to adopt that resolution. It needs to be served by a personal service or certified mail with a return receipt requested, or else it needs to be published for 2 weeks in the paper. And that's only if we can't make service on them after attempting those other 2. Are they still here? So I have reason to believe they had.
Yeah. That was just a story.
Are they here? So service could be made.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Are they
because
the
go ahead.
are they the actual property owners?
The one is- I guess my concern was they have until the 18th. It's not cleaned up within that 30 days of
Approved.
But I didn't know if that had to go through court.
It's already in the order. It's already in the order. Yeah, the
So
order.
then,
The
on
order states that it is to be. I am blanking on the word for it, but basically it's going to be stayed. So it will be stayed for a period of 30 days, pending abatement of pending full abatement of all of the issues. And then if it is not, but it will continue to accrue, and then if abatement of all of the issues has not transpired by the end of that 30-day period, then the full amount accrues and becomes due and payable, and it continues to accrue.
So basically I can go on the 19th and...
You come on the 18th,
Or the 18th and say it's not cleaned up.
because there's 30 days in June. So yeah, 11:59 on the 17th is the end of
So I can go on the 18th
the
and
grace
I can
period.
just go to your office and say, draft a resolution and have it at the next council meeting and just move forward that way on the... Good enough, is everybody in agreement with that one? I don't think it's going to...
I also wanted to point out for maintaining or promoting a public nuisance, it would not be necessarily advantageous to prosecute under Section 9.5 of the UPOC because it states that maintaining or promoting a public nuisance is a Class C violation, and it states in here that a Class C violation is to be punished by a fine of no more than $500. And so, I mean, we're well over that at this point, and if we were to prosecute a second time, just between the notice and the 15 days when the ticket goes out, we'd already be over. We'd already be at $750. And so prosecuting under a public nuisance is putting a maximum fine on it, as opposed to the daily accrual, which is permitted by the ordinance under the property cleanup section of the code. Any questions? Clear as mud.
I just know we're going to have more of them.
8-2A is an alpha 11, and then it goes through the cost assessment and everything. It goes through 8-2A is an alpha 1-4. So those are the code sections are relevant provisions.
Okay, we'll move on to street projects. Anything there, Dan? Not until next year when we really get to go on and stuff, so, okay.
We got any ceiling jobs coming up at all? Quality?
That's the one we're going to be working on in 2023, so.
And we still have any of that grade and asphalt from the last job sitting anywhere?
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to buy some of that from the city today,
We had that set up, and we got it off for a while back, it just didn't be a problem.
can I just call you?
It's up to whatever you want to do on that.
It's kind of hard. There's only one who has never paid. Most of them have paid.
And we have a couple of us that are on it, we decided, because they call way ahead of time. The problem is we're going to sign up more people just to do all the stuff on one property, it's really not up. So we decided we have to keep, because we can put an alley and stuff.
Okay.
I think you might get it down at the city plant. You need more down there. There's more around there, too, like you started to do, so. Okay, we'll move on to the pool report. Anything?
We had a successful swimming over the weekend for the night. I went out Sunday afternoon and some people down there Sunday too.
It's been hot.
Yeah, yes.
Sunday.
Okay, do your motion to approve the pool report.
So,
Moved by David, second by Gail, all in favor. The Gator report, do we have anything there?
It was tonight.
I
I
went,
didn't make it.
I went for a very brief period, so I didn't hear everything they talked about. One thing I did want to mention so that it's kind of public knowledge. A patron had some concerns about their COVID policy. Her toddler wasn't allowed to take her blanket in, and was told that it was against their COVID policies. I think that was a big miscommunication, but just so you know, there are no COVID policies in place at the theater at this point in time. The confusion came from they do have a no backpacks, no bag policy, and apparently the employees were under the impression that that included blankets. So they're going to be creating a new policy that's very clear, no bags or backpacks, and diaper bags and security blankets kind of thing will be permitted as long as the person carrying them is accompanied by a child. So, and then also the the shop vac thing. I don't know if we talked about it, but the city guys did go down and they helped. They actually took a shop vac down and actually helped them clean it up. So,
I seen they was cleaning truck the other day too. cleaning the
yes. Yeah, we got the bills probably in tonight's bills. But then I had to leave because I had to come back for the council meeting, so that's all I have.
The report, moved by Amanda, second by Larry, all in favor. Building permits.
Some of them are out on the share. Mayor, you have copies, and then
There's two here that need to be actually, one was approved in the other fair, we just never got it passed through.
get what?
The invitation to the share. I'm just going up to the agenda. And there's no...
Hold on a second. The agenda that you got an email? Oh, because it gets updated. So like these building permits I didn't get today, so unless you're on the share and clicking that agenda, you didn't change your email or anything.
No. I still get the agenda and the minutes, but I don't get the share.
Can you get to the link that I include when I send out the minutes? Let me try something here. We need to maybe play with this sometime.
Is this supposed to be July 15th, or?
Yeah, that one's, the one that Kmart had approved, and it didn't get put through. Well, when we have to go, he couldn't find it, so we had to make it over.
I was, just trying, but the last meeting I couldn't get on there.
Yeah. But you're on now?
Mm-hmm.
Five of them, is that right?
And then those two.
One of the concrete ones that think you had to have a permit, so I thought that's only what it was.
The one fence that's being out of metal, is that an exception? I feel like the council had to make a special exception, like for your fence that had corrugated metal and...
Broke panel, and there's several of them in town that are made out of pro panel. Everybody thinks it's the front side of his house, that's the back side of his house. Right, Heidelberg, on College Street, I think that's the front side of his house, that's the back side. So I've already heard that. So no, that's the back side of his house. That's just funny how that house was set up back in probably about 68 or 69 when that was built.
No, it's not, because the garage is on the front side of the house.
Kind of set up, it's really funny because the door looks like it's up there, the front door. And down below it's more of a patio door, garage door down there, but I think it's classified as Parkway Drive, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Address?
I don't think so.
Use a College Street address.
Mm.
address came in off of Parkway Drive. They never used that top.
That house set up, it's like your living room, it would be like your front door, as opposed to the basement being that patio.
I think you have to set the property up a certain way, just like all the others are. If it's away from an alley, that's your front-facing street, even if your house faces a side street. Your front-facing street is away from the alley.
And that's an abomination. No alley, so that doesn't, yeah.
But I'm just saying that you might have to set it up that way.
But does he have a College Street address?
I mean, if you give me 2 minutes, I can, not even that, I'm ready to go.
Well, then you should have it changed then to Parkway Drive address.
College. Here, I can probably. Or you-
Doesn't say the Gabe Bourne building permit too, where he's wanting to build out the side of his house, but that's his front-facing street, so he can't go out. Go more
Yeah.
3 or 4 feet, you know, because of the setbacks and stuff. In fact, that block's really weird because there's no house up there that's in the setback. Everything in the setback is not what it's supposed to be.
Well, then I need to have White change that address to Parkway Drive.
Google says 603 South College.
Yep, that's what your South College.
And change that, because then that wouldn't be any difference than the other fences all along College Street.
It is College. So.
They're all Parkway except for that one.
It's really nice to stop fence. But you're 600?
And
This is 603 South College.
How do we jump from 400s to 600?
The numbers are weird.
I was like, trying to close this down and not look at any, but, yeah.
there's no, 4th Street doesn't actually go through.
3rd Street doesn't go through.
3rd?
Because 4th Street is up
You can
behind the
walk-
tire shop, and that goes,
Okay.
it's a very steep dip.
You can walk from the property line, walk right across the street.
Never goes like third,
Yeah. Never made any sense to me either.
We maybe need to talk to White and have them get that address changed to Parkway Drive. There have been more complaints that people put that fence on Parkway Drive. Just in the want everybody up and down that street will scream. Putting that fence in for development stuff. We need to look up his address and get it to where it should be.
How do you do that? How can you,
That's gonna have to, it's gonna have to go, yeah.
All top there, dispensing.
And
The only thing would be if he has mail delivered there, he has to, I don't know if he has to feel on if he has mail delivered, that might be an issue.
I think it's to his house.
So that's gonna be an issue.
Is there a mailbox up there?
I have to look, I could be
I
wrong.
think so, but I don't know. Let's look into that, because it is best to add to get it switched for everybody. For everybody. Okay, do we hear a motion to approve the building permits?
So do we have to wait on that one?
He's already building it and stuff. I think we just gotta get him changed the address, so he's facing Parkway Drive like everybody else on that whole Parkway. So, yeah, get the address changed on that one. You make the motion, Cale? Did I hear a second? Second by Larry, all in favor? Great.
So that was pending the address change or just approved?
He's already building it and everything. I think we're just gonna have to make sure we get the address
And it was
changed.
not approved material though, right?
There's my-
It's pro panel, and there's several pro panel fences in town.
But is it approved building material?
Pro panel, you gotta have colored pro panel.
He needs to paint the same as his
Yeah, he
house.
wants to paint the same as his house, I don't know why he didn't order some, but he is close to his house. I don't know how long he will stay on it. That'd be my concern. If he wants to paint it and match the house. Superintendent report, Dan.
That comes back to the building permit thing that you just stopped talking about. I don't have it on my report, but I'm going to bring it up anyway, because it says that they're not supposed to get a building permit issued until after the council approves the building permits. Which will kind of make local contractors in town mad, because I thought we waited till the day before, but I wonder if we need to consider changing that.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that do have to do it, and then they'll, oh, I didn't want to need a permit, or I couldn't get a hold of anybody, so we went ahead and poured it.
I mean, it's something we'd have to put out there. If we're going to change it, we need to let them know. You need to be in before the council meeting and get your permit.
Yeah, it really,
I mean, technically it should, because if we have an
It
issue with
should be
something and
approved.
it's already built,
I'll tell you that.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
we can tell them to move it, but
One time we made them. There's just,
But it's just like that building earlier tonight on the industrial park. What are we going to do? Make them move the building? I mean,
well, technically they put that building up without getting a building permit, but how do you, especially up in an area like that, you don't know property line. You know, until the new photography came out, we didn't know
Right.
that they built it right on the property line. So,
I'm just saying it's hard to make people move some of that stuff after the fact, so I don't know if it's something you guys want to consider down the road.
I'd say they need to,
But you've wondered if you've had one problem in all these years.
only one that, well, there's been some other problems, but only one we may have to clear something out.
I will tell you where, Crabtree was, when my great grandparents, lived there. He built a garage too close to the alley, and if you look on the north side of their alley, there's concrete where they actually have a roof garage. So, there's more that go back, further back.
I'm sure there is some other ones. But then you go all around town and there's stuff that are just offset and wrong everywhere in this town. That goes back years.
I just don't think it's a bad idea that if they get approved by the council prior to construction. Just,
Yeah.
Gotta
It should be that way.
Got to somehow get that word out, though, because people have gotten used to
that
it.
way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we put it on Facebook, we get it on the newspaper, don't you think? Maybe like,
We're enforcing it now.
I would say, and yeah, if you want to enforce it now.
Send the sheriff out if they start building before they've got a permit. Cite them, they can use court, but that'll
I
stop
think we
them
do
real
that with
fast.
tree trimmers, if they're trimming without insurance, we stop them. Say, hey, wait, you've got to go through the proper channels. They don't have to wait.
Yeah, they don't have to wait for the council.
It's just something to think about. I'm not saying we have to move on it right this minute.
Everything's fine.
But I think if we do it, then better get
And maybe we could kind of let Mandy know that there's something in the paper about that. Of course, not everybody gets the paper anymore, you know.
we can put a little more with the utility.
Yeah.
Per the ordinance, this is, you know, the way building permits, and that's the way they're going to be handled on the site.
Because sometimes if some of these permits are just people doing it themselves, and so, yeah, we need to send it to all of them, just not contractors.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a lot of them that work themselves on some of this stuff, so.
Is there a way to put, I mean, I guess put notes on bills?
In with the bills, yeah.
And with the bills, I mean, is there a way to, I mean, that covers everybody, and it just says, I mean, it just says pursuant to Code of the City of St. Francis, building permits must be approved before construction starts, beginning, pick a date, this will be enforced, and you may be cited if you commence construction prior to the council's approval of your permit.
Is that what you really want to say?
I mean, you can do it nicer than that, I'm pretty to the point. I'm just a to the point kind of person. This is what the ordinance says. This is what the ordinance says. You're in violation of the ordinance, you're liable to be cited.
Well, we got two lights on. I mean, JR, he was going out and he was approving a lot of these before it came to the council, and then we approved it that night because he said it was okay. But we need to really back off of that.
Well, you might get this 6 months later, oh, hey, I forgot this one, you know.
Yeah. Let's see what happens.
And I think the easiest way to get the notice out would be to put it on the bill. It doesn't necessarily have to be, I mean, because like you said, not everybody gets the paper and not everybody's on Facebook. So, but by...
I think we can do that
We can do all three, yeah, sure.
Okay. American Boiler hasn't made it here yet. They're supposed to be here Thursday. Whatever. Chris Fairby can work on the 12-cylinder. I want to ask him to give us a cost estimate. He don't want to run out here and give us a cost estimate, so he says it's going to be $20,000 or less. He almost guarantees less. But once he starts tearing into it, he just wants to fix it. If he's got tired of work, see what it is anyway, he just wants to fix it.
Well, I agree with that.
So,
Everybody in agreement, we have to get here and get it fixed. Right. We need to get it done.
so I'll send an email to him, and he's one that can, he's
We
one
need a
that
motion for that, probably.
Motion to approve it for
20,000 or less. And moved by Amanda, second by Cale. All in favor?
Real quick, what was the person's name?
Chris Farby, F-A-R-A-B-E-E.
So is he bringing us stuff to know?
He said that what he thinks it is, what I told him what it was doing, he thinks he knows what it is. He said, I'll probably take it off and take it back to the shop anyway, and we'll call it. He said it'd be,
Where's the other?
I think maybe Lincoln, Nebraska now. Okay, on these, I kind of had to put the cart before the horse, so now I got to get approval, but it's for the dumpsters. So I had to get them here.
He called me the other day and I said, give it one. Because Gary wants to get his picked up.
Hopefully Wednesday they'll be here.
What's up?
Sterling, Nebraska, or Sterling, Kansas. Gary called the same guy, because I called him this guy back the second day, and when I talked to him, he was, he's not like Gary Hill. And he's like, yeah. He called me this morning for the quote, and I said, I wonder why your quote's almost matched. And he actually dropped his price.
So did I hear a motion to approve that? $6,619. And moved by Cale, second by Larry, all in favor, approved. But we had to get them in.
Okay. Trash cans for Washington Street are here. Wow, where they go?
Well, what did we decide? You need an extra one down there.
Beds. Beds is carbon. And then we said,
like Lacey's.
Macy's, their store.
There probably could be an extra one by the museum. There's one to the east, but maybe put one to the west.
Yeah.
The theater.
Yeah, close over by the
Between
theater.
those two projects?
And so, I'd say just, well, might not hurt. Well, how many do we order?
I want to say 6.
I think six.
And then did we say one by True Value?
Is there one on that block already? No, there's one.
And then maybe one by the
What we doing?
Say 2, Heartland, Ivanhoe Thrift Store, Museum Theater, and True Value, that's your 6.
I do.
I thought there was supposed to be a couple on the south side of the street.
Owens and who else? did you
Crime,
say?
did they have one right there, sorry? There might be one of them.
Put the one between the museum and the theater.
Yeah, around West Union.
Is there one back
I think there's one further down.
further down?
Closer to, like, west, it's not,
I was gonna say, I thought there was one.
there's one on the block, it's not near my office, so,
I think just kind of scatter them out there, and then if it looks like you need to move them a half a block one way or the other because of how the trash is in them. You know, if this one's still clear to the rim all the time, and this one over here, you might need to move them a little bit to try to see if we can get people to use them.
I just didn't know if you had a specific place.
We just decided we needed more of them on Main Street.
as a business owner, I requested that it not go near my pot. We try to make the front of the office look nice. And we were spending our own funds to spruce up our area of Washington, so we would request that the
I think that was a 8-yard dumpster order for
distracting from our flower pot.
But you just use the 4-yard.
Okay.
Maybe it's a bunch of the big cans, extra little. Okay, while we're on trash, somebody dumped a bunch of it for us at the recycle center and at the roadside park.
Did you look in it to see?
I actually went and got gloves and I took the stuff down the plant and dug through it and we found the name. We got a tag number and the sheriff has already went out to them to come get it from the recycle center.
That's what I was hoping that you, and I know you hate to open it up and have to dig through somebody's trash, but we need to catch these people.
Well,
Keep
instead of
doing it
having,
all the
do we
time.
have any cameras down there that goes up after that happens?
No, but once I seen it on the recycle camera, I can watch it drive right over to the roadside park to that trash can.
Oh, you could?
Okay. So, yeah, probably shouldn't have personalized tags when you do that kind of stuff.
That's hilarious.
I guess they just moved here, but they live in Bird City, so why they brought it over here, no idea.
Have they come and picked it up yet?
Jeff just sent me a text this afternoon, I don't think they've been here yet.
Well, that's all right.
Okay, islands were moved, but you can't really tell much anymore, so they're already grown up.
What did you just say?
Islands were moved.
Oh.
Okay, APAC culminates for patching streets. You need to get some more. The county also wanted to use it, so they're willing to pay half. It's $165 a ton. We get 15 tons, so it'd be $2,475, and then we can build the county on it or whatever.
Everybody's okay with that?
Yep.
You need
I'll
it.
make a motion to close the amount of it.
2,475. Divided by 2.
And that'd be split between the two of us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody in favor? You got Amanda and Dara.
Okay, PCB disposal I've been talking about, I finally got, this is the cheapest quote I got, and she was at around 1,500, if everything, yeah, 860 to 1,500 to dispose of from 2 transformers. This one was 2,200 from TNR Services. And Emerald Transformers was 4882.81. So I'm guessing we want to go solid.
Yeah. I make a motion.
Been moved by David, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved. And then the company-
Is that the total price for both of them or each?
The total for those. And I'm Still working on getting quotes on that transformer at the hospital. I have one for Emerald, which was the high price ones to dispose of, but they're $11,250 for 500 kVA. Solid was for 500, 25, 670, and for 750, that was 32,965.
Just gotta run the whole hospital.
That's what it's for. I got one more place I need to check with. I'll get a quote from, but I'm betting it's gonna be pretty close to the same all this year.
What was the cost to dispose of it?
For what?
You said there was one to dispose hospital?
No, the one that was high price on disposal was actually cheaper than the transformer, to sell us the transformer.
Oh, okay. And that was how much?
11,000. 11,250. I got somebody inquiring, they want to put a pallet fence like this up. So I figured I'd just bring it to you before it even comes up any further. I didn't even tell them to get a permit or nothing. See what you guys thought. They want it. I know JR was really not for pallet fences, so that's why I bring it to you guys. But they're wanting to stain it and do the flower headers and all that stuff, just like that.
Kind of open to the
They want to put it around the pool. I bring it to you guys. I don't have to be the total.
So is it, where's it located?
Be next door to Larry's house.
Parkway Drive.
That's what those are over there.
just afraid to start approving one and have to do them all.
That establishes a dangerous precedent.
That's what I'm
They've already got the power.
Yep. But it's not up yet. They did ask, so.
They can take them apart and turn them into
Is it
picnics.
a permanent fixture?
I'd say it
might be
is.
one for me, yes.
I'd say that's what they're trying to do, is make it permanent. I mean, they might take it down someday, but right now it's going to be permanent for quite a while.
Yeah.
What's everybody's thoughts? We've had one that was put up, but it was put up poorly. Very poorly. It's coming down now.
So we have one right now that says it would need to be permanent before we take it down and put it on the ground.
Right.
It's behind the motel. Most people don't see it. Pretty sure that's where the chickens are at.
Yeah, it's, you know, where it looks nice, too.
Well, that's probably good. I want to get it allowed.
I don't think the cherry will move fast if you just don't roll it. Even if you stay.
Not necessarily if they're oak, they won't.
Yeah.
If they stain them and do work to them and keep them that way, it wouldn't be any different than a picket fence, a cedar picket fence. But they've got to be such good pallets. I mean,
How they look, is it good?
I didn't take that close to it. Thanks for the heads up.
it does does open up. And more people want to do this and do that, so.
I can see why they want to do it.
What I love where we're running into the whole conversation, well, if you do that, and this happens, and why would you do that, and this happens. If you do pilot, what would you do, X, Y, Z?
I think we're also running into a condition of ballots. I mean, did you allow the ballot X, and then someone gets ballots that are not in good condition, not in it?
Well, I think we have that issue right now.
Right.
As we're still managed.
Yeah.
They slapped it and put it up there.
I think so.
Is it in the, I mean, can you see it? What's in it? Where's that? Where that one is? The one that I asked about?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the middle state.
What's everybody think? Yea or nay?
I'm on the pilot fence on this one.
You're what?
I'm on the pilot fence on this one.
Somebody had mentioned something about, probably starting something. I have no doubts that they'll come up. They take care of it.
If it's not finished, then it's looking down the road, but allow one to have to turn it on.
Well, if everyone has to go through the approval process, it doesn't look nice and they can't keep it up. That's the other option too. Yes, you may bust
I'm going to have to switch one.
I don't know.
I'm not getting anywhere here.
Well, that's it, they're gonna have to get a building permit. They have to approve the permit.
But I'm glad they're asking ahead, because there's so many of them that threw it up, and then they ask later, like everything else that's going on.
One way to look at it is not a whole lot different than a big fence.
Other than,
And there's still the vertical looks in between each tower.
But if they're getting used, what are the conditions?
Some of them are nice, I don't know, they're all nice and they're different.
I got 3 of them in my building, I sell for $200 a piece, that's how nice they are. They're all oak.
Yeah.
Yeah, oak. I won't get rid of them, and they're brand new. They've only been used one time. I hung on to them. I kept thinking of things I would build out like, you know, in the backyard for the grandkids and stuff, and I've never used them.
Oh, really? I don't understand.
Some of them are made out of oak, and those oak ones,
Poured in cement,
Can't even hardly move.
you know,
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
you really heavy duty.
the way it's put up too, you know, I think that's a lot of it. Like that. It looks attractive, the way that is, flower boxes.
We almost need a
can we put
drawing conditions in.
can we put conditions on it that 2 years from now, they don't keep it up and it looks bad, that it comes down? Or 1 year, or I don't know what we do.
I think anything they would pilot whenever we get to, if it's system, we have a case-by-case basis, we have to
is right now, everybody's building stuff out of houses. Everything. You see it everywhere.
I think it's a great way to go.
I agree.
Anything like that, we have to be conditioned, we need to have detailed drawings, colors. We're gonna approve. And that would keep the garbage from going up. Or you don't allow the, or blue trash cans.
Where's that picture at that was going
It looks no different than any other thing. So you could make that same thing and it wouldn't be hot. How many bus expenses do we have down there?
I know some that are laying up after the winter, are still laying over and they haven't put them back up. And they're probably not going to put them back up, so they've got a fence that goes from the front of the house to the alley, and this is 2 or 3 sections there.
You want to table it till next meeting?
I'll put something out on quickly, see if other communities allow them.
We get some drawings and colors and more details. They could just completely shut it down, because it could look nice. It's an affordable option. So,
You want me to ask for drawings?
garbage or whatever you could do. Yeah, I know.
I can ask for drawings and stuff, what they're gonna do. That's what you're doing.
Yes, you can. Just now. Or wait till next week.
Let's table it for 2 weeks, everybody can think about it.
You know the owners? Do you know?
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't have any problems with it. It's
You know it looked
really
nice.
I can't.
It's an expert.
It's an expert.
Which would have to come to a meeting and give us time.
I'd rather they took the meeting and asked her on that too.
I think it'd be a good idea to at least have a feel on what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And I've got a good idea.
Just only to go around the pool or it's off the whole yard?
Just around the pool, I think she's the way she thought. I mean, permanent.
How permanent is it going to be in the house? I don't know what kind of
Well,
pool you're
you
gonna
gotta
have.
be post anchored.
It looks like those are railroad ties in the,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't use railroad ties. I think that's where we say you gotta use a cedar post. That looks like, because that's virtually railroad ties on the bottom and railroad ties up and down for the post. And the railroad ties is what would bother me more too, because it's a mixture. It's not like it's one. I mean, there's places for railroad ties that this is tying 2 different things together, so I think that it would be better if they used a regular 4x4 cedar post. And I wonder if that is what they'll do. That would make sense to try to plan a railroad tie.
I'll just ask them when we get over there, they can talk to you. I might be the easiest thing. Okay, Justin said that the chemical pump at the pool went bad this weekend. He's tore one part we had down there and got fixed. But he's ordered parts, so parts are only about $250, and that gives us one spare one to put in now. Said we're gonna have to order one more batch of chemicals to finish out the year at the pool. He estimated around $1,000 would be the cost, so. For chlorine and stuff.
Are we using more this year than we did last year then, or it just didn't order as much?
I don't think we ordered as much, I'm not sure, but I think we closed it earlier last year. You're still talking another 2 weeks of being open right now, I think.
Well, she'll be open a few days, start through the end of August. Everything will be weekends, and then she'll probably still do that from, and then they may still do that off, so as we
y'all had a schedule of a year last year, coming off of COVID and everything?
Coming up with,
COVID and all that. Could that be a reason why?
I think we had a good numbers last year.
Okay.
COVID, to be quite honest with you, I don't think COVID affected the pool.
Yeah.
I really don't.
No reason why it should, but,
Because the first thing I think about is chlorine.
yeah, the sunlight.
I don't think it affected anything last year.
so, more about the on-call stuff. I was wondering if you guys have a problem with the on-call guy taking a truck home on the weekend or whatever, having it with them. If they're down eating, the reason I'm asking is if they're down eating or something, you guys can see it down there or whatever, but if they're eating or they're at Dollar General, we get a call that somebody's basement's flooding. You can leave there, drive all the way to the plant, get the truck, go do what you have to do, then drive all the way back to the plant, get your other truck back, and go finish it.
What kind of truck? Just a city pickup?
Pickup, yeah.
I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
But it would just be around on the weekends, and I just want you guys to know if we did this, it would be around, so
Makes sense.
if there's any issues with it, then we'll do it.
Anybody have a problem with the on-call person having a pickup? They should.
I mean, we'll keep it intact, but then we got cruising and stuff like that. Okay, I'm still working on quotes for the water system. I haven't got any with that. I'm gonna be on vacation starting tomorrow through Friday. I will have both cell phones if I'm needed. And I talked to Prairie Land and Ward both, if I'm gone, they both said they'll help out if needed. Then I'm gonna have to ask to carry over probably 35 hours vacation to next year, because I ain't gonna get used, and I only got a week. But I still have 67 hours right now.
Been busy.
Thank you for approving that.
Has everybody approved to carry over the 35 hours needed?
If he wants to do it the way the rest of us, that's fine.
Amanda made the motion to carry it over. Second by David, all in favor. Approved.
Real quick on the on-call with the vehicles, there's not an issue liability like insurance if they're driving it technically not on city business, is
I
there?
don't think so, because they are on call, and they would be responding to city business. I can't imagine, but I
Well,
could
as long
check.
as they're not just driving around doing nothing, I mean,
Right.
running around town, but if they, like Dan said, if they're home and decide to go eat, if they drive it down to eat, they're still on call, so they can leave there to go.
We can check with Bruins and make sure.
I just make sure if we need to keep the family out of it,
So,
or any of that too.
mhm.
Yeah.
Because I got some guys that have little kids, that they can't just leave their little kids at home. They don't have a wife at home, so. Okay. Other than that, I need 5 minutes executive session for non-elected personnel for employee status and application review.
And before we finish, a couple questions. Is the else on the pool? Where are we still on that? Are we still looking for someone to tear that out, or we gotta take care of it?
Nobody's been on it.
If somebody wants to come in and tear that out, are they, we're gonna say that's yours, or how are we working on that?
I don't know if you're gonna have to scout that and it's from the parking lot over there, but we have our dirt there, but we just got snow down there.
Well, full disclosure, I had to have farm folks come the first day and ask me, so what's the old court? I said, well, let me ask Monday night, and I think he's thinking about tearing it out, if that property would be his. So, and I didn't want to speak until I had you.
I mean, just that property right there, straight on back. Yeah.
Very bad to get insurance before.
Right. Gotta get
There
insurance.
are some issues with the last couple of years.
Yeah.
needs to just bring a plan into us, and then we can consider it.
Yeah.
He needs to bring it all in, and then we consider how we do it. That's what he's offering.
One thing I still gotta get it. I need to call Robin and see who's gonna cap that sewer and how we need to do it further.
Yep.
So I'll try to get that done.
But that's one of the things before, you know, you approve the ban is, have you been having, I know you have, has finding someone to come on and crew, has that been an ongoing issue for a while? Okay.
We've been having
Okay,
it
and-
for years.
Okay, and I was wondering if I was going to bring this up when I was talking to someone today. Is this something that we would want to think about bumping it up $1 an hour or something to try to attract people?
It depends on qualifications and where they're at and stuff,
Right.
so.
I think we said that we were working on budget stuff,
What's that?
I thought when we were working on budget stuff, we kind of decided that's where we were going to leave it as
Okay.
qualifications, experience, and that kind of stuff, where we start them out, but
Speaking of that, we did put it on Facebook now. We just try to get it out there a little bit better, just to make sure.
If you want it anywhere else, if you want us to spread the advertisement out further,
Couldn't see those.
You know, and I've noticed, I don't get that mile saver very often, but I've looked in there. You won't believe how many people are looking that are wanting, I mean, I'll bet you there's 40, 50 ads in the mile saver for jobs. It's just unreal.
Most of it's 40,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
if you want it, if
Do
you
we
want
want
me
to
to
put
do
it in
that.
there? It doesn't cost that much. I put it in the black bolt deals because that catches them. Costs just a little bit more, but it's not that bad.
And they said there's 3 options. I think Next Tech ads are free.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
See,
we're starting now at 12, 13. That's what we got. And I think the state's, I think 15. And CDLs are really hard to get now, so we're gonna figure that aspect in.
Yeah, if they've already got a CDL, that would make them very valuable.
Yeah. Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the superintendent report?
So, second.
Moved by David, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved. Okay, attorney report, Lauren.
Out on the share drive, you have a contract renewal and amendment of Great Top Rate Municipal Garbage Collection and Disposal Service. This is the amendment with the changes that were discussed last time. This is going from an exclusive franchise to a limited franchise. The fee will be $18.90 for the first 95-gallon polycart and $10 for each additional 95-gallon polycart per account service paid to Hill. Payment shall be tendered to Hill, by the city to Hill after the first council meeting of the month following the providing of the trash pickup services. Sorry.
Got it.
I have added sections 3 and 4 to, paragraphs 3 and 4 to section 2, which is the city is reserving unto itself the exclusive right to pick up all containers other than 95-gallon polycarts on all days, as well as the right to pick up 95-gallon polycarts on all additional pickup days other than the 1 day per week that Hill picks up the 95-gallon polycarts, as stated below. The city further reserves unto itself the exclusive right to pick up all containers located at city-owned properties. That's what we discussed last week. I added paragraph 5 to section 3. Hill shall pick up the trash of all 95-gallon polycarts except those located at city-owned properties once per week pursuant to the terms described below. And that is the second paragraph of section 4, Hill shall designate the area, Hill shall designate the location for each 95-gallon poly cart, and each 95-gallon poly cart must be in such designated location without restraints not later than 7 a.m. on the weekday on which trash pickup occurs, currently Tuesday. 95-gallon poly carts not in place or with stamps on them are not to be picked up. Those are the main changes that were made. There is still, the provision in there is still what he was asking about in the event of a pandemic or act of God, which renders still incapable of performing any of its weekly pickups. That was in there previously when I presented it. So that's not a change from the last time I presented the update. It is a change from the previous contract, so just to call your attention to that. I have made it to go into effect on the 25th day of the 25th day of July. That gives us 2 weeks to get that. If someone wants, if Lila, if you want to contact Mr. Hill, or if Jen wants to contact Mr. Hill and forward this on to him, have his attorney look at it, and get us an answer by the 25th as to whether or not this contract is satisfactory, or if they have proposed revisions, they can submit them. I cannot submit this. Counsel cannot contact someone who they know to be represented by counsel. Since he has not provided us with his attorney's information, I cannot provide it directly to the attorney. So the goal is to have it signed into effect on the 25th, and then have it go into effect as of August 1st, because the first collection date would be August 2nd. Anyone have any questions? We're going to have to revise, so we previously enacted Ordinance 635, updating the solid waste section of the code. Then we repealed it with Ordinance 638. We're going to have to reenact changes with certain provisions in there. I will have to revise that article of the code again, because it was originally revised for account billing and the city was not providing any services, and so there will need to be some modifications. However, I am not going to go in and do that again until we have approval from Hill on this contract, because I think it goes into effect on the 10th or the 15th of a month when we send out the notices. When is the billing cycle? It goes into effect on the 15th?
Bills go out on the 1st. They're due by the 15th.
But when is the end of the billing cycle?
The 15th.
Okay.
So it's 15th and 15th.
Perfect. So, I mean, we could effectively have the new rates going into effect on, I think, August 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Because the council would be on the 8th, so the council meeting would be on the 8th of August, so the publication would be that Thursday on the 11th of August, which means that the following Monday, which is the 15th, it would have been published and it can go into effect. And then the notices could go out with the bill on the 1st, because, I mean, we would know as of the 25th whether or not it was going to be signed. So it would give us a week to get notices.
So you want the notices to go out with the bills?
Well, I want the notices to go out with the bills if the contract's going to be renewed. I mean, we did everything correctly the first time. However, the contract, Mr. Hill did not agree to that version of the contract. So we will need to do that. We will need to go through that procedure again. So, if this contract, if he can have his attorney review it, get us either their proposed revisions by the 25th, or, and I sent it in Word, so if they want to make red line edits, I can bring those to the council. Because I would like to get if we can get it in place by the 25th, that gives a week to get everything ready by the time the bills go out the following Monday on the 1st.
They go out before that. Jen stuffs the bills and everything that week. I'd have to look at a calendar, but they'll be going out that week before the 1st. Is that going to be a problem?
Well, I won't know if that's going to be a problem unless, I mean,
Why not push it back a month?
do we want to push it back a month?
Just a suggestion.
Gary's already talked about not hauling after this week,
Um,
starting.
I mean, my understanding was that we needed to come,
Is that what he's saying?
my understanding was that we needed to come to this promptly. So I have prepared it to be, I mean,
the notices are what? They're just notices of the rates?
that the rates are going to be increasing.
So they're going
as
to be
of-
increasing regardless, right? So we can send the notices out regardless of the status of anything. We have to increase our rates, right?
And we agreed with what we had already.
And we agreed with the rates that they were already going to be.
Which we've already
We already
notified
notified
people.
We already sent those out.
But then we
Previous
notified.
rate.
We notified them that it was going to it was going to start as of a certain date, and it didn't start.
No.
So my concern is that it's going to randomly start, and they're going to say, "You didn't give us notice of this. You said it was going to happen, then it didn't happen, and I figured it wasn't going to happen." I mean, but you've told them.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you want to plan on it, and just I guess just plan on our rate increases going into effect August 15th.
And are people expecting the increased rate to be like $16.50?
I think it was 16.25.
That hasn't changed.
And all of a sudden the bill's going to be $18.90.
No,
No,
no, no,
no.
no. That's what we're paying.
We're paying.
That's what I'm asking.
I've
We're
gotten-
doing a 43% increase.
No,
I've gotten
the-
that question asked. So the city's going to be charging the customer $16.25, but they're going to be paying $18.90. And I'm like,
Yep.
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 And unfortunately, we are too far in now to do anything about it this year,
Right.
or else we may have customers not serviced.
That's where I was driving.
Yeah.
However, I do want to go on record that I'm going to vote yes begrudgingly, and that I do not want to vote yes next year.
No.
I would like to work towards getting our own. I'd like to tell these guys to take it.
If you can find me 2 employees, we'd haul. We got 2 trucks.
Wish we could.
I've had no less than, I'm not
Shut
kidding,
for 3 months.
15 to 20 complaints about our trash, and none of them are good. I mean,
Well, and this amount, I mean, just seems,
and none of them do about the amount yet. But wait till that happens.
well, like I said, I've been hit up about your.
Oh, you
charging-
have?
Yeah, you're charging, the city's charging the customer $16.25, but the city's getting billed $18.90. I said, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
makes perfect sense, doesn't it? I mean,
But we're stuck right now. We're too far into it.
Yeah, get it sent out to him and see if we can get it going.
If you just send it to him and let him know, or
Mhm.
Jen sends it to him, and let him know, this is what we've, pursuant to your conversations, this is what we have, it's in Word, please get it to your attorney, we'd like to approve it, we'd like it to have your approval and have us approve it as of the 25th. If they want to send Redline, and if you want to include my email address on there, if his attorney wants to email me a Redline document, I'm happy to take a look at it. And
And Lala, is this going to create a much more of a hassle on the building side for Jim? This
Sending
whole
all
new
these
system,
notices?
the way he wants it
Oh,
done.
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah, so then you got that on top of everything
Yeah.
else.
yeah, it's,
we're doing the paperwork
Fair.
side of it.
Whole thing.
He's getting
Everything's
22%.
not
Yeah.
ideal.
We need to send him a bill for doing the paperwork.
Yep, I think so. Figure out how much hours the city puts into trash billing and.
mhm. Okay, we'll do that first thing tomorrow.
perfect.
Okay, anything else on?
I don't think that I have. Oh yes, zoning. Do we have a planning commission?
The council.
It's just council? Okay. So then there needs to be noted, there needs to be a public hearing set. If you're going to rezone that, there needs to be a public hearing set. Rather than doing an exception, we just need to change the statute that delineates where the or excuse me, the ordinance, we need to change the ordinance that delineates where the mixed-use zones are. You'll just add the legal description, and I think you'll probably just put everything south, you'll figure out where that line is. I can work with Amanda on that. And we just are saying everything south of it is mixed use, correct? I mean, everything south of Highway 36.
Was that part, which I don't know if it goes clear out to Dollar General, wasn't that like the Bennett Anderson addition or something? I think that there's an actual addition, but I don't know if it goes clear. We'll look.
I just think you could say anything, I mean,
Yeah.
if there's a county line, there's a county line, but, I mean...
Just say south and west of Highway 36 and River Street. That would cover it. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, if we can figure out what that intersection is, I mean, if it's a quarter corner, then we can just use that as a, I mean, I think there's a pin somewhere around there.
There's down on the county line. The city, sorry, not the county line, the city limits down there.
And then there's another one, there's one further up on River, because we had that issue with that.
The section is right there at River and First, is where the section corner is.
Right, so is there a quarter corner?
We can figure it out.
Okay, yeah, we'll just work on that, and then, so there'll need to be a hearing, and then you'll need to vote on change the amendment with that in there. So if you want to set a public hearing now, it needs to be published at least once. It says 20 days before. I think you would just want to make it 30 days before. It needs to be 30 days before, or 30 days after publication. So if you want to set that for the second.
We've already got our budget hearing on the second meeting in August, if that's what you're thinking. That would not be great.
Well, but it wouldn't need to be a particularly long meeting. I mean, if the council wants to zone it that way, I don't know if the public's going to object to it.
I'm just
And
saying we've
so-
already got your budget hearing and R&R hearing on that meeting, that's all I'm saying.
And we can push it to, if you want to push it to September, I can push it to this, we can push it to, I guess I would suggest the second meeting of September. I will not be here for the first meeting of September. So I won't be here to go through the...
What about the second meeting in August?
Well, that's what I was just saying, that's the budget
Oh, that's
hearing
the
and the
budget.
R&R
Okay.
hearing, but it may not be a big deal. I mean, you can have one right after the other, your R&R hearing and your
I was
budget
thinking
hearing.
It was August,
and
the second was the first meeting.
that
Okay.
hearing.
Second meeting. Okay. That would
But
be
when
what-
you-
I don't know if we already did know it, so what's going to hurt to go to September? We didn't know it was that way. I still think there's something in somewhere.
And that gives Amanda and I a little time to work on the legal description and
Yeah.
redefining the ordinance. So we will go. Do you have a notice, kind of like a notice thing typed up for the paper? There will be a public hearing regarding, or do you want me to prepare a notice?
I mean,
It's just a...
for this?
Yes. There's a public notice, it's just notice to the public that there will be a public hearing for proposed zoning regulations.
I can use one that, if it's...
I can type one up. I have no problem preparing a notice. I just didn't know if there was something that was already...
I don't have anything other than what's been provided to me for other things, like the street project and stuff like that.
Okay.
Those public
I
hearings.
can get a notice prepared, and then we'll get it sent out before that second, more than 30 days before that meeting in September.
Okay, is that it then?
That's all I have.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file? Moved by Cale, second by Dara. All in favor? Approved. Clerk, Lila.
Yep, I I emailed Scott Heltman and asked him to ask the commissioners how they wanted to proceed with reimbursing the city for the cost of the recycling employee. In the past, what they'd always do is it was based on tonnage. They would give us a certain $10 a ton for what we recycled, and then a percentage for an employee. But we're not weighing our stuff anymore, so I can't give them a tonnage thing. What I can say, though, is that Sunoco is paying the county for the cardboard that they pick up from us out there. So far this year, the county's gotten $7,611.71 from Sunoco for the cardboard. Dan and I were talking about it, and it feels like maybe that would be the simplest, easiest way would be for the county to then give the city this money, and that would cover our employee cost and our recycling. It seems like because we can't give them a tonnage report. I don't have that. But somebody's going to have to go talk to the commissioners and present that idea.
When's the next meeting?
Well, it's Friday, but Dan will be gone. But we were thinking maybe the last meeting in July.
Supposed to sit in for me.
Yeah, somebody could do that.
When's
And
the
I'd be
next-
happy to go along, but I don't think I am the appropriate person to present this to them. I can be there for information.
Well, I think I could go Friday. If we want to get it done this Friday, first thing we can get it done.
Might be too late to get on the agenda, but I can try.
No,
No?
you should be, you should have to Wednesday,
Okay.
2 days before.
Do you want to try to go Friday?
Yeah, let's try to do it Friday. Let me know that you got us on there, and then I think we're going to be fair for them to pay us back that cardboard that they're getting paid for.
They don't have any expense in it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't want to really pay for it.
Yeah.
I think JR said because it was
'Cause it's
their
cheaper.
recycling
It is.
program, so...
But we're doing all the manpower and everything else, so.
And that's why it should be theirs, the whole thing.
You can bring it up Friday.
That's the other option.
They can put a man up there, and that's theirs.
I make a motion. That's all.
I feel like that would just be the simplest thing for everybody. That
Just let me know that we got on and
Okay.
what time we'll be on.
Or do you want me to just... Do you want me to just go sign up for it? Or just text
Can you
them?
do that? Yeah, anytime works okay for me.
I think there's only two...
Yeah, go
Let us
ahead.
know what it is.
9:30, 9:45, I think. Because then
Okay.
I have auditors from... Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll just get you on right away. I'll just text you both.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. All right, hold on. Some of the stuff we've already talked about. US 36 advertisement. This catalog, this magazine here. We've had an advertisement that looks like that bottom half of that page, if you want to pass it around. If you want to renew it, we can do exactly the same thing. It'd be $945.
What was it last year?
$945, yep. Yep, it's a little bit of a
Okay.
discount.
Do I hear a motion to approve the advertising?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Amanda, second by David. All in favor? Approved.
And I've reached out to Barco on the signs for the Veterans Memorial and the roadside park. Those are going to be custom signs, so I haven't heard back from them yet. But that's where we got the Motorcycle Museum and the Rickery Break signs. It's from them, so I've got to figure out. I think I've not reached out to the right person, so I'm going to have to figure that out, but I am working on that. Airbnbs, I'm still gathering information on that. I got no responses to my email on the clerk link, so I'm going to have to do maybe some research or something and see what I can find out. Maybe task Leanne with doing that, looking at other things, but nothing so far. We need a new printer. Our heavy-duty printer that we use for everything has got some issues. And where's my quote? Hold on here. Well, gotta find it. Hold on. There it is. We, in the past, have always just bought our printers directly from Lexmark. Lexmark, they're great printers. They work well with our software. But I didn't get any quotes from anybody else. I just got this one because that's what we've always used. I'm not sure where I will get other quotes other than different brands of printers, but this one for the printer, like I said, it's our high-capacity printer for printing bills and all that kind of stuff. For the printer and a tray is, I'm trying to find the total here, hold on. Free, apparently. Hold on just a second. I don't know. Hold on a second. Yeah. Well, the printer itself is $819, and then the tray was $216.78, so a little bit over $1,000. I can't believe I don't have it on here.
How long's the last one?
We've only had this one since 2018, so and now it's starting to give us problems. So this is the next level up, the higher model of the printer.
$1,000 for 5-year service is bad.
What do they do with the old one? Did they
I
take
mean,
it or?
no.
Just
Yeah.
take it up?
Yeah. I mean, it could still be used, I guess, for like a backup if we needed it, but it's doing some weird things. So, you need the exact price here? Hold on a second. It'd be $1,034.78 plus shipping.
Second. Then moved by Amanda, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved.
Thank you very
You're
much.
ready for the shipping now.
A 6 month delay, too.
Oh, we
They just
hope
have portable
not.
Yeah, hope it's only 6 months. Shipping will be
We will be in trouble if that's the case. We hope we can get it quicker than that. Out on the share is a letter that I got from the league. They just asked that it be shared with everybody. It basically is just talking about bills and how Senator Billinger and Representative Smith supported different bills, and just wanted the council to know that. So that's out on the share. And so that you know who they are and how to contact them. I think that's all I have. We covered everything else for tomorrow else. That's all I have.
Okay, your motion to accept and file the clerk report. Moved by Larry, second by Derek, all in favor? Approved. Council comments. David.
I'm going to ask for 5 minutes of executive session. I don't know how to ask them. It's for contract worker for the city. So how do I say that?
I don't know exactly what you mean. Do you want to step out in the hall and tell me what it is? Or?
Yeah.
Got anything, Kale?
Nope.
None?
I'll be gone next meeting.
Larry?
Just want to inform everybody that we've got a fireworks presentation for the intermission of the concert. Just want to make sure everybody's okay with it.
What's the date on the concert again?
August 20th. Got an opening band. Stuff starts at 6. Vendors and everything. The first band will be at 6:30, and then long run will be at 8.
I don't think that's a fire chief question. I think you have mayor approval on that one.
On which one?
Special fireworks.
Special fireworks.
And when you look at the long-range forecast,
I
you know what
know,
August
I know.
is? 95, all the way through August. 95 every day. And no rain. All of August. That's the long-range forecast. I hope it changes, so.
Change my no comment at this time.
Okay, okay. I was thinking after we've been talking here, and this would be something that we'd want to go out and building too, is we talked about there, was that last fall or several months ago, about all the abandoned vehicles that are sitting in people's yards. They are not tagged and insured because they're not drivable. That we put in there that was going to give them until this fall to remove them. But we need to set a date. And then we could start putting it out with the bills too, that those vehicles need to be removed that are not tagged and insured, that are sitting in their backyards or wherever they're sitting. They need to be gone. And there is a lot of them.
You had a nice view of them, Buck Chuck, don't you?
But, I mean, if anybody drives around and starts looking in alleys, I've just been shocked. The other day I went, oh, there's 2 more. Oh, there's 2 more. I mean, they're sitting everywhere. They are sitting everywhere. So I think we need to get something, because we put it in the paper. That was a month ago, 2 months ago, when we put it in the paper. They've already forgot about it. We need it to go in the building every month until that date. That gives them time.
What's that?
Every month?
Well, it needs to
Well, that's why I
be.
was like September 1. When do we normally do a property cleanup? That's October, right? Is that when we've done the...
We haven't done it in a while.
We didn't do it last year.
Why would we not do this as the same procedure as the property cleanup?
Well,
No.
the citywide cleanup,
Citywide.
yeah, sorry, the citywide.
But this wouldn't be
No.
included with that.
No, I'm just saying that's about the time. We used to do spring and fall, and then we just did the fall kind of cleanup. I just thought maybe the same kind of time frame, maybe October 1. Get the word out now that September.
We just need to put a date on it, because once it gets to that date, of course, these vehicles that I'm talking about, once they're hauled off, those people probably will not pay for getting them back or anything unless it's something they really want. But most of them are just because they just don't get rid of them. They've been sitting for 5, 10 years or longer. But it's just time to get things cleaned up and so forth, because that's just a place for the rodents and everything else.
But, I mean, why, I don't understand why that's not subject to, how that would not be subject to the health and welfare violations under Section A, under Chapter 8,
Because we told
Section
people,
2A.
like, giving them,
We've given them till
Notice.
this fall to do it.
we gave them notice that abandoned vehicles need to be cleaned up, or the city's going to start cracking down in the fall. So we kind of already put it out there that...
So you're not talking about removing them as of that date, you're talking about then commencing the notice and
Mhm.
the notice
Yeah.
of prosecution
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just gave them like several months, hey, we're
So
going to start cracking down on...
it's a grace period to
Yeah.
get it
Right.
out before the letters go out individually, okay.
Yeah.
I was concerned, but
No.
It's
we
just,
were circumventing the
just a
due
reminder,
process.
just a reminder out there for them to get rid of them.
And it might not be a bad idea to let them know that the fine is $25 a day. In the event that they don't have it taken care of by that time.
What did we put out? something in the paper, is that right?
Yeah, but I think all we said is we was going to give them till this fall, but we didn't set a date. We did not set a date. But it needs to be before snow starts flying and everything else, so I would say, I mean, I'm fine with October 1st. I mean, I don't care when it is, but we just need a date.
I'll let you know that if you do October 1st, I'm not going to be able to prosecute it until the middle of November, because you have to give them 15 days to get it cleaned up, and then a citation has to be issued, and by that time, it's going to be too close to prosecute them in October. So if you're picking October 1st as your date, and you're wanting to do it before snow starts flying, you need to be aware that I'm not going to be able to prosecute until the third week of November. And that's just going to be the first appearance. It won't actually be the trial. The trial will then be set for December.
So you're going to spring before you...
Yeah.
By the time it
I
gets to the
mean-
court system, it's going to be spring, so...
If you were to pick September 15th, the letters then could go out September, it could be decided at the September 22nd meeting. If we do September 15th, the letters could go out in September 20th.
Wait.
Like
What?
The date that they all need to be cleaned up, the grace period, if it ends September 15th, rather than ending October 1st. The letters could go out following that September 15th.
Oh, the cleanup letters.
The cleanup
Okay.
letters. The ending date, if they set the date of September 15th, the cleanup letters can go out sometime within that next week. And so if, let's just say it's a week, it's the 22nd, or we'll say the 23rd, then that gives them 15 days before the citation is issued, which puts the citation being issued in early October, and they only need 7 days, so we can have them issue the citation and have their first appearance at the October court date. And so if it proceeds on and it goes to trial, we can prosecute in November.
So you want the notices to go out in the August bills with all the other notices that we're sending?
Good old stuff.
Wake them up.
You got blue ones and pink ones and...
I mean, because if we wait till the
Okay, coupon.
September bills, that's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, does everybody agree with that? Then get it out there and see what happens.
Are you wanting the September 15th date then? Or are you wanting August or October 1st?
What's everybody think?
Let's get the notices out.
Are you gonna have too much stuff in with these bills?
I think there's
Where
4
people
things.
just grab them and throw them out? I don't know what that.
I don't know.
Honestly, that's what I would do. I don't know about that, set it in the newspaper, chuck it in.
Well, if we put it all on one piece of paper, but people, I don't know if they'll read it. I don't know.
That's a lot.
And I can't remember now, there was so much tonight, I can't remember, and I feel like this is the 4th thing that we're supposed to send notices out on. In August.
Maybe October 1 and get something out of September building.
I think we need to set a date and then go forward. Even if it goes later into snowing, I mean,
I mean, that's snow, all who cares?
it just would be nice if they were cleaned up before it's snowing and stuff.
Let's say October 1 about what we put out.
So then maybe sometime you can also
We can
get
get
a
it.
list of people that'll clean up the vehicles, like the promise and you have in the hall. And then nobody will come get it, or you can pay for it. So, you get it cash to get rid of your trash. Cash for trash. Put that in there too,
And I would think some of them would be just glad to give it to almost to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or whoever wants, or somebody, yeah, whatever.
that's all I had.
But I
I
missed.
thought of that.
I'm gone next one.
I will be too.
So, and then Larry's going to shoot out special roads.
Yeah, where are you shooting them off at?
Fifth Conservation Park.
As I should have told everybody before, we did have a house fire across the street. We didn't get called out, the guy put it out himself, we got called out after the fact of the weekend. He was upset. I don't know why the city allowed them to shoot fireworks this year, so it's 50-50 possible, until you're sitting in the chair actually making decisions, it turns out. talk for, half hour or so, maybe calm down, but, if that's a meeting, we'll have to figure something out or whatever. Sheriff's Department was
Was it
making
in a tree or in a house?
It was, he must have some dry stuff at the bottom of his house. That fire burned up his vinyl siding. But he got to it before he got to the eaves, and they had left asbestos siding underneath the vinyl, so. It couldn't burn through the asbestos, obviously,
Okay, well, let's go ahead and look at the bills real quick, and then we'll go into executive session.
I don't need to be for the executive session.
See ya.
Yeah.
I like the 2 loaves of bread.
What?
2 loaves of bread.
What are we talking about?
you saved the water.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they were plugging something with bread.
It didn't work.
It didn't?
Because when I was supposed to sign that thing, I was like, I called Justin, I said, okay, I gotta ask, because it's the first time I ever had to sign this. But it's
Yeah, that, I've done that before. It's pretty tough to do.
Yeah.
You shove the bread in the copper line, you're trying to solder it, and because the line's still seeping. And of course, if you can get it soldered quick enough and get it heated up so the solder will take effect, then that bread will dissolve and go right on through. Well, usually you can't get it done fast. But 2 loaves of bread.
Maybe he's hungry too, I don't know. I would have gave up after 4 or 5 slices.
What all do we store out there at the 1 mini storage? We paid that here.
I don't know, they got some mowers and stuff in there, but I can look and see if we really need it that bad.
We have paid for that for I don't know how many years. Look at it and see what's in it, because if it's like a lot of things, if it's not worth whatever we got in there, then why do we keep paying so much? Yeah.
Or get rid of some stuff?
Well, we've got the old firehouse up there, but it's kind of old stuff too. But I've asked JR before about that mini storage, and $70 a month for years and years, and
Okay, okay, ours. You really need.
Any other questions on the bills? If not, do I hear approval on the bills? Moved by Amanda, second by Cale, all in favor? Bills approved. Okay. I guess we're ready to go into executive session.
Session for 5 minutes for personnel or employee status.
And applications.
I don't want to have applications for Lila and Leanne.
Lila,
Okay. Let's just, to be moved at 10:20. Council later.
And super. Who was the second?
I'll second.
Cale said.
Hold on. Okay.
Okay, we're out. So, do I hear a motion to approve the hiring of the new employee? Larry, and then David? All in favor? Okay. Amanda, then Larry. And off the record, I'll tell